Okay, I'm ready now. What's up, people? Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
What was that? Was that you?
Yeah, that was me. That was me saying, "What's up, people?"
Are we live?
We're live now. That's what happened.
That was the least warning you've ever given me.
Yeah, because
You
I
be
was getting
quiet
hit in
now.
the head with yarn, so we need to jump into it. Level 1 hype train already. Hell yeah, people. Thank you.
Okay, I need to say my hellos because you just came out of nowhere.
I just came out of nowhere. Where I came out of is
Here I
right
go.
here. Where I came out of is
Shh,
this
shh.
moment.
You be quiet. I'm attempting to say my hellos. Hello, squishes! Happy
What's
holidays,
up?
whatever you believe in. If it is Kwanzaa, if it is
Didn't you come up with a new
Christmas.
name for the squishies when they were here?
Uh no, that was just for party piece. We called them party people.
Oh, you're right. You didn't have a Berserk one.
Yeah, well, they're always squishies even when they're not squishies.
Okay, so there's it's not that they okay, you keep going. Thank you, Legit
Um,
Hawaiian, for subbing, getting us up to another level of hype.
I hope everyone has the greatest type of holiday. And if you're not having a holiday, if you're alone and you don't have anyone, I want you to know that you're not alone. You're just not. You just currently don't have people with you. It's not alone. And also, make someone feed you.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you were gonna keep going, so I didn't respond.
Well, because my mom and I used to go for walks around Christmas time. Say what you will about my mom. She's a lot. But we
He
used to go
is.
for walks around Christmas time, and she would take randos into our house and feed them at Christmas.
That is really nice.
Yeah, say what you will, but that's a nice thing.
That is a nice
Anyways,
thing.
I was just thinking that I hope that everyone here gets to have at least somebody that they get to be near who means something to them. I did.
Pantsless in
Hype
public.
train! Hype, hype,
Pantsless in
hype.
public just bumped us up to the level 2 crawl of the hype train
I'm
by
not gonna
gifting
lie,
100 entire bits.
Pantsless in Public is a very good name.
Wouldn't it be funny if their name is Pantsless in public and they just wear a lot of skirts?
Oh my god, or shorts.
I feel like hear me out on this.
You
Shorts or
no,
pants?
shorts aren't pants.
Shorts or pants?
No, you have to no, they're only pants once to cover your knees, period. I won't hear anything about it.
Shorts or pants?
No, I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, hear me out. Hear me out on this for real. This is my real opinion.
Okay.
If shorts are not pants, this is a lie. I have lied to you. However, if you have shorts, you are not pantsless.
Okay.
I feel as though
Okay.
pantsless is to describe that there is not a garment, an overgarment wrapping around your hips and pelvis, like containing it. That is to be pantsless. So I feel like pantsless doesn't describe to me the having no pants on your person. It is very specifically not having an overgarment contain that region. So like wearing a skirt, you are pantsless. Wearing shorts, you are not pantsless, despite being without pants.
You want to hear? Like, I don't want to beat a dead horse on this pants issue.
Yeah,
But do you want to hear how I want pantsless to be? Like, I don't want them to just be like underwear.
yeah,
Um, I think they have to not wear underwear. I've decided,
yeah.
but
Whoa.
they're wearing a towel.
So you want pantsless public to be wearing a towel? I want them to be wearing a kilt.
I want them to only be wearing a towel. I mean, same,
Mad
same. One's
Soldier
cultural
6.
and one's drying you.
Mad Soldier 6. Sykes. The Mad Soldier has subbed, just so you know.
Thank you, Mad Soldier.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read this.
Holy shit, Legit Hawaiian gifted a pile of subs. Thank you so much, Legit.
Good God, legit. Look at those go.
Legit's crazy. Legit's amazing. Legit's the reason the series exists also. Like, the series, literally, we wouldn't be doing Berserk right now if not for Legit Hawaiian buying Mama the
No, it
Sexy
is
Black
legit
books.
Hawaiian. Legit Hawaiian did that
Yeah.
because they sent me the
Yeah, you're
yes,
at
it
level
was
3.
wild.
Things are crazy. Berserk is peak.
Legit Hawaiian sent me the black books, and I was like, "Listen, Legit Hawaiian sent me black books. We need to read this."
Yeah. It's the mix of Stazzy bringing it up and making you feel excited about it on stream, and Legit
Because
sending you the
Stazzy
books.
fed me with the bonfire moment, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, most of this book isn't a bonfire moment, but I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it in a big way. I am so excited to talk about Berserk today.
Do you
So
know that the bonfire moment is next? Did you know that?
so we had talked about really I didn't. We had talked about um the idea of doing weekly One Piece chapter reviews, and hear me out on something, right? Legend Hawaiian did do a thing. Um I think we should maybe save that for when I feel like we have more to talk about in a One Piece chapter, because I read the new chapter and I was like, yeah, it's good. Stazzy Boy
Oh,
gifting
whoa.
a pile of subs. What the fuck? You guys are crazy. This is incredible.
Jesus, Stazzy boy, pop
Because,
off.
like, today I kind of just want to get to Berserk. And I know people want the One Piece reviews, but I don't want to do stuff just because people want it. I want to do stuff because I want it. And the last One Piece chapter I wanted to talk about, you know?
Yeah, but I wanna do stuff because I like to do them when they come out. I do
Okay.
want it.
Well, I mean, it is out, but did you read it?
I don't wanna do it right now. I looked at it and I was like, "It's good," but I'd rather do it with 2 chapters at this point.
That's kind of what I'm feeling. I want to give this one some space. I think we get to Berserk because I am so hyped to talk about Berserk today.
I wanted to, but not yet.
Okay, what do you want to do instead?
Well, who is the person who just said that they were like, "Blah, blah,
Aw.
blah, mama, you said that you would tell us about your opinion of Cormac McCarthy."
Okay, so
And
first of
I
all, I
was
want to acknowledge what Legit said and said, we're going to do our best to be the best stream we can for you today because that's incredibly tragic. I'm so sorry to hear that.
what happened?
They said they lost a best friend on Tuesday, and this is the first time they've smiled since. And
Oh.
I think we owe it to the person who has pushed us forward to do this series to give them the best stream we can today. And then the other thing,
100% legit. I'm so sorry for your loss. That's just bullshit.
why Cormac
Absolute.
McCarthy? Oh, you mentioned
What
it
do
in
you
the
mean?
last stream, so someone's bringing it up.
It was wokeism that said, like, said something about Cormac McCarthy, and I was like,
Wokeism, such a the phrase wokeism said something about Cormac McCarthy is such a funny sentence. What the fuck?
I'm not gonna lie, I never thought about that.
Yeah, wokeism just said something about Cormac McCarthy.
Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of this. I'm looking for the thing because um in order to do justice to why I hate Cormac McCarthy, I could make a whole thing called "Why I Hate
Well,
Cormac McCarthy."
I can do another one, but mine's a really short list. Why I hate Cormac McCarthy. Um, the last name McCarthy is associated with some economic policies that I don't jive with, and Cormac is a dumb first name. I'm cutting
Okay,
in and
that
out
is
again. Oh my god, I'm gonna go unplug and plug in my. Give me a second. I already did this. Microphone. This.
I gotta tell you though that um his microphone is suck. We have the same microphone. He bought us these microphones together. Mine's just like so profesh. And I kind of feel like he's just got ripped off somehow. I don't know why his one is sucking so bad.
Okay, can we hear me? Am I better? I don't know, man. I just unplugged, replugged in my microphone at every single port and moved all the cords and electrical sources away from the cable. So hopefully it works again.
I really hope so.
Because like normally I only have to unplug and replug it once before stream and then it's good. The idea of having to do it twice honestly is a ripoff.
Yeah, actually, I agree. I don't know why this doesn't work and mine does.
I can see someone wanting to talk about Nietzsche in here, the idea of creating your own meaning, but like Griffith does seem kind of like the toxic interpretation of the Ubermensch too, so it makes sense. I wasn't ready to talk about
Okay,
Nietzsche.
here we go.
Here
My
do we
kids are in the
go.
middle of talking about Nietzsche in
Whoa,
whoa.
holy fuck, how many subs was that just now? The hype
How
train
come
it was about to end. Mad Soldier just gifted 10 subs. The hype train was about to
that's
end, and instead we have popped the fuck off. Whoa.
wild.
We gotta change
Thank
our
you so much, Mad Soldier. That was a
okay.
wild, wild
We
time.
gotta change our sub goal to be like way more fair to us because we still have it set to like nearing the end of One Piece when we had so many subs. And now when it compares our number of subs to our goal, it's actually sad.
Aw, I like it.
We'll get back up, but I don't want the goal to look so impossibly out of reach.
All right. If you would like, we can do that. But let's be fair to us. People don't all know the amazingness of Berserk and people were so rude for poor Undead Unluck, which is such
People
a
didn't
great
come on board because they tried the first little bit and it didn't catch them. And it's like, y'all,
it,
you remember
the
how
first
One
little
Piece
bit's not
started,
that
right?
good.
Thank you so much, Mad Soldier. It was incredible.
That was wild.
Mm-hmm.
The first little bit is not that good. Let's just be honest. And
What's
then,
not to know?
oh my god, it gets good.
Yeah. I'm so excited to talk about Berserk. Can we get to it? Can we get to Berserk?
Yes, so I'm going to do this for 3 seconds. So there is a Cormac McCarthy, for those of you who don't know, is an author. He wrote No Country for Old Men. He wrote the one called The Road. The Road has this one quote in it, and there's a million quotes, and if you read this whole page, it depresses you to crap. It's a boy and his father traveling across the United States trying to make it to the ocean after kind of an apocalyptic event. And the apocalyptic event happens because of environmental problems. Well, we live in BC where we have fire in the summer like
I
every
mean,
7 seconds.
this didn't used to be a thing, but fire season has become one of the seasons you look forward to. Smoke season in the
Yeah,
Pacific
we actually have
Northwest.
a season now just called smoke season, basically in the
Every
summertime.
August, this August wasn't that bad, but generally every August, the Pacific Northwest is smothered in a thick pillow of
Yeah.
strangling smoke.
Sometimes it belongs to Oregon and Washington and California. Sometimes we're giving it to them,
Yeah,
regardless.
sometimes
And
we're
either
shipping
way,
them some horrible shit. And
shelter the smoke.
what's cool about it is it not only hurts your lungs and eyes, but it also smothers the sun into a smoldering red glint
So
that
let me read this
truly
because
looks
that's
hellish.
why. So Cormac McCarthy years ago, and there's a whole page that is absolutely hellacious, and you could just look that up on your own. But here is just one sentence of it. By day, the banished sun circles the earth like a grieving mother with a lamp. And
That's pretty
that is
beautiful.
the exact thing that happens here every summer. It looks like the sun is trying to find us, and she's just holding out a lamp, moving around the earth, desperately trying to find us, but can't get through all the smoke. And my reason for hating Cormac McCarthy is he has a way of writing.
Uh-huh.
He is one of the most beautiful writers in the entire world.
Okay.
It's stunning. His work is incredible.
Yeah.
I fucking hate this man. Every one of his books sticks with me and attaches itself to my actual bones. And when bad shit happens, his stupid phraseology comes out of my mouth and in my head. And I'm like, I hate you, Cormac McCarthy. He haunts me. And so I just want to say I understand that that's the sign of a good writer, but I actually can't read his shit because it breaks me.
Okay.
And that is why.
Sounds like he's doing his goddamn job, honestly.
You know what? Everyone in this room is going to. No, he didn't woke. I just hate him. Everyone in this room would love Cormac McCarthy because honestly, if Berserk is your joy and you're like, I love me some Berserk.
I
My
do.
favorite parts are the pain and the struggles and the suffering
Well,
and the death and the hate.
this is actually a great segue into something I wanted
Whoa,
to talk
Dr.
about.
Jack.
Holy
Thank you so
shit,
much,
Dr. Jack. People, there's a sub off today. People are fucking
No,
fighting
it's
over being number one
it's
gifter.
Christmas gifts, you big weirdo.
Oh my god, it's Christmas gifts. That makes fucking sense. You're right. I didn't think about that.
Such a weirdo.
What you said is a great segue into what I wanted to talk about, which is truly
Thank you so much,
Berserk.
Dr. Jack.
Berserk is the
Whoa.
Dark Souls of manga, and here's why.
Thank you, Stazzy boy.
Holy shit, Stazzy, that's incredible. Dr. Jack, this is your first time gifting? That's amazing.
That's amazing, Dr.
Okay,
Jack.
I'll wait. I'll let the hype simmer because this is so many gifts. Level 8 hype train. You guys are incredible. I'm gonna let it simmer
That's
and then I'll get into what I'm gonna say.
amazing. Oh God,
Haberfax, that is so
Get
A-okay.
that. Medical debt.
No.
Oh.
No. I'm gonna get to why what I'm saying is insightful, guys. Don't worry.
All right, go ahead, Drawk. Pop
There is
off.
a meme in the world which is saying blank is the Dark Souls of blank. And people are like, but Dark Souls, did you know that? Fuck you. It's called a retroactive genre. It happens all the time. There's many things that happened before Kafka that we call Kafka-esque. There's things that came out before Castlevania and Metroid that we call Metroidvanias. Retroactive genreification happens constantly. But that's not what I mean. When people say something is the Dark Souls of blank, they're usually saying it's blank but hard. Because Dark Souls had this reputation built that it was hard, that it would hurt you, that it would be difficult. And that's what the reputation was built on. And when I played Dark Souls, I didn't play it until I had a lot of time to kill. And I was like, I'm going to sit down for a hard experience. And I read an article a while ago that felt very similar to my experiences, which was a feeling of having been cheated by having held off on Dark Souls for so long, assuming that all it had to offer was pain and the triumph over difficulty, when in fact it was beautiful. And it really is a beautiful, well-made game. It's fun to explore. The combat's incredible. It's punchy, the music, the score, the designs, but it also presents beauty better than almost any media I've experienced because it makes you struggle through so much pain and so much trudgery that by the time you see the beauty, you have earned it and it feels beautiful. And I, for so long, have held off of Berserk because it is the Dark Souls of manga in that its reputation is struggle. What people talk about and pitch it as is struggle. And that is there, it is present. Dark Souls is hard. These aren't absent. But I am reading something that is genuinely beautiful and finds so many incredible ways to make you feel. And it doesn't just hurt you, it makes you feel lots of complicated feelings. It makes you think. And there's some things I want to talk about that I don't want to spoil my thoughts for later that I'm so excited to talk about today because I think this does some elements of storytelling better than anything else I've ever seen. And I think it is a disservice to this incredible series for its only reputation to be that it will hurt you. That is why it is the Dark Souls of manga, because their reputation of pain has entirely superseded what should be a reputation for art.
I love that.
Anyways, yeah.
And you're right. That really pops with today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to. I don't know why I go in there.
I think the Dark Souls
beforehand.
trilogy is a beautiful tragedy if you look at it thematically on the whole, but I don't like
It
playing
worked
Dark
out
Souls
really
2.
well though, because like honestly, I wouldn't have been reading this with you. You wouldn't have been reading this with me.
Yeah.
Like this needed to happen when it happened. It kind of had the same
Oh, it worked out.
the same kind of feeling as One Piece. I first wanted to just do something because the Mad Soldier found us recently through other things and watched the whole One Piece series, is now joining us in here, and I think that's really cool.
Incredible. I hope you
Also,
enjoyed the One Piece series.
we had someone come back after a while of being away. What the hell? Who just did that?
There's so much going
Did somebody
on.
else just subscribe a bunch? There we go.
People doing a lot today. I'm so grateful for
Oh,
everybody.
Satoshi Chiba is back.
Oh,
That's what I was gonna
Satoshi!
say. So welcome back. And now we're going to start. Can I just say that was the perfect thing for today? Today is interesting for me because you think that essay would be harder or whatever would be harder, but today's for me was this reading in particular was the one that I was like, holy crap, this was breaking because I saw something very different here.
I want to be fully frank about something, which is I read ahead by a lot.
You're not supposed to.
Well, here's what happened, right? Is I read a bit and I went, it feels like I haven't read very much, so I'm going to stop here and then I'll find out where I'm supposed to stop and then I'll read a bit more. And then y'all came to me with when I was supposed to stop, and I had read an entire 3-chapter arc past the stopping point that I thought was barely anything. I thought I'd barely read anything, and I read the entire next arc.
You big damn fool! Oh, Constipated called you a fool.
So I'm not going to talk about the Casca arc because I have read it.
Can you please make sure that Adonis doesn't have long hair? His hair was only to his shoulders.
Yeah, I know. This isn't the hair.
Don't ruin his
This
memory.
is not the hair. This is just
and
form.
Can you make sure you, just like a good mama, you don't ruin things?
What? I didn't do anything.
You don't ruin things. Don't talk about things we're not allowed to talk about, okay?
I'm not going to talk about the Casca art because it's not for today. I didn't do it.
Okay. Okay, so I have
So
made a
good.
few different
So good.
decisions.
What?
I'll kill you.
It was so good. What? What's
I brought
happening?
you into this world, Drawk. I brought you in. I will take you out.
Good. Yeah. I'm not going to talk about it.
I'm gonna take your whole ass out. I'm gonna take you right out. Okay, here we go.
Here we go.
So somebody inside of the YouTube says spoiler that is not a spoiler, and I was like, that's interesting. And normally, you know how I feel about YouTube spoilers. I'm like, no, those
You don't
aren't
like
fair
when they
game.
do it.
No, I don't think they're fair game. Like, I don't think you should be finding things out from YouTube as if you're like, oh well, it doesn't count because I got spoiled on YouTube. No,
Yeah.
that counts. Just don't freaking look at it. But this one felt different in the way that because they said, let me just find it here. Newest.
Yeah.
It said kind of sort of a spoiler warning, but not for like plot development or anything. And I was like, that's weird. I'm going to read this one.
Okay.
And this is what they said about that one. But just for kind of like an overall structural feeling and world building, they said something to be aware of. You talked about a bit about the Godhead and what sort of deity they serve or demons or whatever thing. Something you may want to be aware of is that the author said that he regrets that in his opinion, that he revealed an overall cosmology and the nature of the God's Hand's boss too early. I don't know how important that is to you, but it's maybe something to be aware of, which made me feel kind of like I was getting the exact spoiler, not a spoiler, that I got with One Piece. Thank you very much, Pantsless. You have to pat the boy, and you have to give Bellamy a treat.
The boy. Let's see if the boy cam works. It was
Because
working, but when
do you
does anything
remember
work?
when I was told Oda felt like because he was going to make One Piece so much shorter than he ended up making it, that he gave too much away in the beginning, and that if he could have, he would have gone back and not told everyone so many things and made some things very obvious. I felt like he made them obvious because I had those kind of like couple of things that led me in that direction. So I felt like I could see a pattern that he had used with. I tried to do research and I had to be good at reading, but I could find it because I think he accidentally gave away more than he had wished to. So I like thinking that this is the exact same thing that happened here, and that we really need to pay attention to these beginning pieces because he didn't realize how long he was going to make it and how much he was going to go into it. So he felt like he gave away too much.
And what people are saying now is he regretted it so much that future prints removed it, and you'll have to read it online because it's gone. It's not in prints anymore.
That's fascinating. But I also think that it means that he may have given away more hints with more depth that he wanted to, but he couldn't remove his entire freaking thing. Like you can't just get rid of all your
I
manga.
also think as an author in general, it's better to leave as much cosmology as you can empty. That way, as you have better ideas, you can fill in the gaps. Because I think even if the general concept is stationary and you have an idea for it, realizing you've left room to expand and change it is so powerful. So I very much think that revealing things too early, it's easy for a writer to understand that as a mistake later on because like you have less you can work with. It's a tool that you're removing from yourself.
Yeah. So in the very beginning, it says, in this world, is the destiny of mankind controlled by some transcendental is what I said, which is close to transcendental.
That sounds like a word
law.
that Phoenix would sing.
You're not wrong. Is it like the hand of God hovering above? At least it is true that man has no control even over his own will. Man takes up the sword in order to shield the small wound in his heart sustained in a far-off time beyond remembrance. Man wields the sword so that he may die smiling in some far-off time beyond perception. So this made me feel two things. Number one, that the hand of God is a true hand. Like I feel more and more like the hand of God is a true hand.
And there's 5 of them because they are the acting fingers of the god.
The acting fingers of God. And it made me also feel like I don't want to say alien, but I kind of almost want to say alien vibe. The idea of man being controlled by something bigger, smarter, better outside of itself. Do you know what I mean?
Can I say something that I find so interesting is right now there is an equal number of people in chat saying it's insane that they got rid of the chapter because it enhances everything else as a reading. and there's
Yeah.
people in chat who are saying, um, absolutely, you should not read that chapter until you're caught up to where
That's
he left
wild.
off.
I love that controversy.
Like, there seems to be an equal number of both opinions, which I find crazy.
I love that. I love it so much. Okay, so when I say alien, I just mean almost not of this world. So whether not of this world means in some place where gods have their own identity and being, or in some other cosmology, but it feels like it's not of the world. Then I like this idea of man taking up the sword in order to shield a small wound in his heart. I said something about the small wound is like partially healed because it was over such a long time ago. And so it says small wound because there's like some atrocity that was done to them in the past by gods. A betrayal, almost like
Mhm.
a betrayal of God. And I feel like picks up is a metaphor for keeps hope. Man
Okay.
picks up the sword, so man keeps hope. To shield the small wound in his heart. So the sword is hope. So I think about the sword that Guts carries as kind of being a symbology of hope.
I also want to bring something up that someone responded to my comments about the sword's meaning, and when you're talking about the swords, they pointed out that they said it was kind of a myth that great swords were used what I said they were for, but I think honestly when people say something's a myth when it's really cited by a lot of people, I think what probably happened is that like historians disagree about something and one person says something was overhyped and one person says something else because frankly I have found just as many sources saying great swords were used mainly against pikes as not, and there's some great sword designs like this Zweihander's Flamberge Edge that are basically designed as more than anything to be good at fighting pikes. So I don't think it's likely that they weren't used for that, but they pointed out that as a bodyguard weapon, which were great swords were popular for, they were also used for keeping people at a distance and away from being able to hurt someone by creating a no touch zone basically which fits Guts that I think
Which fits Guts very well because
yeah.
he is the epitome of a no touch zone.
Mhm.
Okay, so I love this idea of picking up the sword from some far off remembrance of a god that have or gods who have done a terrible thing to to mankind or to person kind, and picks up being a metaphor for hope. But then man wields the sword so that he can die smiling in some far off time beyond perception. Is I think a bunch of things. It is letting us know that Guts is going to die wielding a sword, and he will die in a way that makes him feel that he gets to smile and leave it in a good way for others. And I think it's also wielding the sword is a metaphor for action. And that mankind, if they didn't pick up the sword in hope and then wield it, if they didn't take action, that there would be no point in moving on. There
That
would
even
be
if you
no
have no
point in
control you need
living.
to
Yeah.
take on action, you need the feeling of fighting even if it's pointless.
Exactly. So even though this
Interesting.
says, at least it's true that man has no control even over his own will, there is some, then it kind of almost contradicts that by saying, but they still pick up the sword as a shield and then wield it so that they may die smiling. And I would philosophically argue that that is a type of control. Is it a control over what is going to happen to you? No, but it represents a type of control, choosing how you're going to live in a world that doesn't give you much autonomy or agency.
Hmm.
And then right away, what do we see? Beasties. So we know that this world has beasties because we see a dude who's fighting, who's beasties. We see people who are the ram's head. You look at page 323 in the big black book, and I have here Exhibit B, Exhibit C, and it's clearly people with beastie shaped faces all over the place. I haven't got to see the ram's head people without it on, but it really feels like it lends. You can see their eyes, you can see the shapes of their mouth underneath their helmet. Looks like they are beastie-ish, which kind of lends to the idea that there is lots of different types of maybe elven, beastie, or whatever
Well, I just
people.
thought the Black Rams were a knight order or a mercenary corps that was animal themed with their helmets and stuff.
Yeah, but it also, if you look at the first page where we have Mr. Beastie Man, who's clearly a beastie,
Hmm.
um, you saw Mr. Beastie Man.
You mean Zod Nosferatu?
Yeah. And he has Guts' ears. And then you move forward and you look at the men on that page. Some of them have, like, one of them in particular has a jaw that comes out as like a beastie jaw and not a human jaw, which was very interesting.
I'm still
to me.
cutting. God damn it. Let me go unplug and plug. I don't know what's happening, guys. I've done all the things.
Before you go, and do go,
Mhm.
Aesthetic Delta said carrying carrying a sword that big is a huge burden. Carrying a big hope in Berserk world would also be a great burden. That's exactly what I was saying. Like when they wrote that, I was like, that is a very succinct way of saying the thing I was saying.
I don't know how to fix this. Why does Streamlabs hate me? Because I'm not cutting out to Discord.
You can turn it off while I tell them all about how I came on last night. I came on last night and Drawk was popping off about things. It was his
Oh my god, yeah.
it was his big thing where he was ranting about stuff. Thank you, Constipated. So I came on and I said to him, "Why do you sound like Alvin from Alvin and the Chipmunks?" And he's like, Don't you even worry about it. I don't sound like Alvin." And then today, and then I asked people in the comments, like, "Are you guys hearing him sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks, or is it just my rig?" And people were like, "Oh, nope, that's just your rig. He sounds normal to us." But in actuality, I guess he had changed it for some
Testing,
other thing he was doing and made his
testing,
voice
testing,
weird.
testing. No, that's not working at all. Oh, it's cutting out
I hear
real
you.
bad. This test is bad.
Try again. And then
Test.
he came on today and I was like, "Why do you still sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks?" And he's like, "I don't. Oh shit. I do." And he did all of last night's stream that Craigbot picked up as Alvin from Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Because for some reason, I had a voice mod on from a bit that I did with friends, and somehow Discord had decided to switch my main audio output into being the voice mod without me realizing.
Exactly
So
irregular.
OBS, which I was recording through, it was fine, but Discord decided to have the voice mod switch on. Sorry,
The part I love about it
Streamlabs was
is that he
fine.
told me not to worry about it when I'm like, "Dude, I'm literally
Yeah.
listening to you and you sound like Alvin and the
So it's
Chipmunks."
only an issue for the Craig mod. Okay, I'm looking at it now and it's not cutting out anymore. So I wonder if switching it to mono helped because I did switch it to a mono
I think you sound
setting.
great.
I'm not seeing it cut out on Streamlabs anymore, and it was cutting out really bad. So hopefully this continues to work.
It was such a reverse puberty regular that I was like, "This almost sounds like Drawk, but like 8-year-old Drawk?"
Luckily, the Craigbot audio should work fine if I bring it into some editing software and just pitch shift it.
They
I'm
wanna know
not
if you're
using
using a
voice
voice.
meter. No, I have switched off since I'm using a real XLR mic.
Okay, we need to go into this. So then as we're going into this, I more and more am wondering about when they are fighting because it doesn't seem like everybody else is fighting in the same way. And it can't just be like, in my opinion, looking at this, it can't just be that Mr. Guts Berserk is faster and therefore that's why there's these types of lines around his body, etc. Because it's his shoulders, his head, his everything. It almost looks like phasing, which reminds me of like that way of moving in and out between worlds. It almost
Well,
feels like he's tapping into
can I
something.
say why I disagree? I think it is
Go ahead.
just meant to be from the perspective of those around that that's how he draws people when they are too fast to understand. Because we see the monster Zodd drawn with that same thing, and Guts is describing him as being too fast. So I think it's
Great.
just meant to be.
That's my evidence for why I'm right.
Well,
The
but
monster
demons don't need
Zod
to phase in and out of reality. They're just fast. He's big and strong
no,
and fast. It's
he
still bad.
uses
What the
power.
fuck?
Can I
Yeah,
finish?
but my mic broke.
He uses the power just like Guts does, in my opinion. He uses power um from sources other people don't have access to. And I think that's the reason why he is so much faster and phasey. Your voice is fading in and out of reality.
Dude, I don't understand. I have done so much to fix this, and it was working so well for weeks. I don't know why it started not working again.
Is it doing it now still?
Yeah, it's back. It's back to doing it.
There's got to be a way to fix it. And then the other reason that I believe that it's beyond just him being super, super fast is that he takes on the entire army of 1,000 people. I mean, he is a doofus, but he feels like he has the ability. There's something within him
Hello?
and within
Can you
his
try
ability.
talking? Oh, no.
What?
Well, that's not good. Well, now I can't hear you. Oh, no, they can't hear you either. Fuck. Trying to fix it wrecked your sound. No.
Am I back? You got rid of me.
Okay, I didn't get rid of you. You just cut out because I didn't change anything and you came back. You just disconnected.
What sense does that make?
I don't know, but it happened right when I did something unrelated.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
The
but then
other
you came
reason-
back without me doing anything, so clearly.
No, I went off and then went back on. The other reason that I think is that it was when I met Zodd that I realized that he could be tapping into the same type of shit as he is, because he comes from another worldly place as well. And I started to be like, dude could be tapping into the same thing. He also decided that it was absolutely practical to go in and fight 1,000 people and then starts to win. And then Griffin comes in. I have a lot of mad beef with Griffin, but Griffin in this one looks alien. When you get to page 338 of the big book, Griffin's face and the way that it's drawn there looks not it. This is when I started to go back to the original page because I looked at it and I was like, Griffin actually looks alien, not just devilish in this one. And that's what made me be like, maybe there's more to this. How is your voice now? It's been nothing but voice plague with you. Now you're gone. Am I gone?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I just made a change to my mic and I needed to switch it in Discord. I'm back now. I'm
said,
hoping
how
this
does
will
your
work. I
voice-
made some changes to my mic settings.
I said it's been nothing but voice problems with you, and you were gone. And I was like, oh, well,
dude,
I guess he's drawing today, and I'm doing
so
this.
difficult because I have fixed this so many times, or I fixed it fully. It was good for weeks. So the idea of it being broken again is such a piss off.
I think it's hilarious for me because mine, ever since you gave it to me, has been nothing but awesome.
Yeah, whereas mine's been like, actually, fuck yourself. At least it works through Discord. It's just Streamlabs that hates me.
I only want to talk about Berserk now. I'm done talking about your mic.
Okay, I mean, hopefully.
You know what I don't like is the way we are now drawing Casca's mouth. So that she just looks like a sex doll.
Well, she's a grown-up now, so that happened.
No, I don't want to hear it. I looked at other people's mouths. They're normal. For some reason, he draws Casca's mouth, so it's always in a weird little Percy sex doll mouth, and I hate it.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can hate it. I also looked at it and was like, yeah, that's a little weird. And like the princess is almost drawn like that, but not quite. And I feel like her face is drawn in such a perfect way to express what he's going for, which is like,
yes,
naive but not incompetent, intelligent enough to be that this isn't just Griffith manipulating her; she's scheming too and doing her thing. Like she comes across really well. Like her personality comes across so well. Can we get sex doll Casca for reference? I will try. I will attempt. I will endeavor.
Yeah. Because people should get to see it. Because as I was reading it, I was like, oh, no, ew. No, why are we doing sex doll mouth? Like, not cool, bro. But then when I saw the princess, I was like, he did such a great job on the princess's face of trying to show us like how she hasn't been out of the world. She's basically so naive, and that he knows exactly what he has in her and how she can be manipulated because everything that she is sits plainly on her face. And then when I looked at Casca's new face, I was like, oh, come on. You have done this girl dirty. Dirty! She's sex dolling it out on every page.
I want to talk about something else with the facial art because I think there was something I can't find the Casca, whatever. Something that I found very interesting is you can kind of tell that Griffith is a character that the story is not holding up as a hero in a scene that I fucking love, which is the scene where all of the castle maids are talking about Griffith and how hot he is. And I feel like in the vast majority of media, when you are being shown uh characters gossiping about how cool our boy is and other people being like, this is a scene that happens. We've seen this scene in other media.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be making the women talking about how cool our boy is look so ridiculous and look so cartoonish and silly and dumb. But it's intentional because this isn't, yeah, our boy Griffith is being authentically seen for who he is. This is showing us the deep webs of manipulation and control, this push from the Bayolet of creating Griffith, of making, of exaggerating who he already is, of furthering his ambition. Like it's not highlighted as a well-earned, this is our boy being seen. It's being shown as like, oh, this is the fucked up machinations. This is the deep web of influence that he is building.
Yeah. When we go and he goes, Griffith, I'm sorry about um I'm sorry about today's battle, and he goes, even that part of you is part of my plan. I wrote a note. Here's the deepness of my note. See how he just always sucks in full awareness of how he's sucking?
Yep. Guys,
The
guys, remember,
idea.
I read ahead. I've seen good stuff about Griffith already, and I still think I'm right.
No, don't talk about reading ahead. If you're
What?
gonna read ahead like I used to, then you don't talk about it.
What?
That's
Look,
the
I know
rule.
there's more to see, but like, look, people are saying they have so much to say about my reading Griffith. The man is being written to be scary. Whether or not he's ever had good
Work with
intentions
me, Drawk.
doesn't matter. The entire story is written for him to be a frightening figure. At every point, we see his ambition as something to fear.
Okay. So I really felt like when we were seeing Griffith and he was just literally explaining how every part of who Guts is, including his angry outbursts, the fact that he can count on him doing specific things at specific times, made me feel that Griffith was already he's God hand touched, and we have manipulation. So Griffith felt like he is making his own decisions at this point, and instead it feels like Griffith is already the moving hand of God, and God has chosen how Griffith will act and what Griffith will do.
Can I say something that I think is so important in this segment, which is people have mentioned that some people recommend saving the Black Swordsman for after you've read all of this shit, after you've read the entire like backstory. And why I think that's silly is because we know Griffith makes a deal. That's obvious. We've been shown that. But that's not the important part. The important part is that we saw someone at their most vulnerable fail to make a deal, to have their humanity be something that stopped them from giving in. So we know that you do have agency in saying no. You can not become a demon. It is not guaranteed. We have seen someone refuse. And I think that's the most important part because it tells us in Griffith's fall that he could have chosen not to if he was a better man.
Exactly. But it also shows it's really interesting because even that person, when it says that there is nobody who has control over their own life and that the God hand is moving everyone, that's evidence that even he had to die. His choice was to die, but he still had choice. That you can't just lie and say like, "Oh, I had no choice. We're all being manipulated by God and wielded by gods, and therefore it isn't a choice that we act like this. That's just who we are." But no, Griffith has a choice because the choice is death.
Yep.
Still choice. And instead, that is not what's
And
happening.
all implication is instead of dying, he sacrificed the two, Mr. Guts.
I really enjoy it, and even more than that. And I cannot believe that we get to do the. You didn't read the fire, did you? The
No,
bonfire.
I did not read the fire. I just read a 3-chapter arc called Casca.
Because I'd burn you to the ground.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting that we're doing Nosferatu Zodd because Nosferatu apparently has a ton of different etymology, like disease bringer, the intolerable, if it's in Roman, the undead, unclean, and bloodthirsty. And so I think that those are very important things and a very intentional name because they start it with it was crimson like a drop of blood, the Bela hat, because they're doing that in an intentional way and then saying Nosferatu, because Nosferatu feels like a messenger of this type of a god, and he is the bringer of the pain and the unholiness and the unclean and the bloodthirsty, and doesn't give a shit about any of these things. And the reason I thought that was so interesting that he chose that is because, and yet he warns our boy. Guts gets a warning at the end. If this is your friend, then be prepared for this future.
And what I love about that is it feels like it does come out of the respect he has, that he's shocked Guts can keep. Guys, I saw a comment where someone was like, why does he have to have special blood? Why can't this be the product of his strength? Whenever people want a special bloodline for Zoro in One Piece, I'm like, no. Let it be about who he is, about his hard work, about him as the person. With Mr. Guts Berserk, he is one of two people with pointy ears, and both of them, a demon says, are the only mortals he's met in 300 years
300
who
years.
have blocked his attacks. Guys, you can
It's also the reason that I say that he fights in a different way, and so does Griffith, and that I believe it's a type of phasing or additional skill given to them through a bloodline. And I
just think they
I believe that because we meet the Nosferatu dude. He has the pointy ears. Who else has them? Guts and Griffith. And I'm like, and they both fight in that same phasey way. And I'm like, I'm sorry, it's not just speed. If this was One Piece, I would say it was hockey.
I think it's just speed, but I will say it's definitely like it's something because we haven't seen other people. Did Gambino pointy ears? I mean, if he did, he just didn't push himself, I guess. Like he didn't apply himself. But
I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying that they have blood that's similar to this, that gives them the access to this.
Yeah. To me, it just feels like there is some advantage they have because our 2 pointy-ear boys are the first people in 300 years this demon's met that can block him. That feels crazy. For that to not be like the world's biggest coincidence would be wild.
So I also like this chapter because when we're coming into it, and Guts has just done amazing fighting, and they're not yet presently. Captain Guts Raiders are laying siege, and when Guts goes in there and they had already been hailing him as being so amazing. You could see that Griffith at some point in the near future was going to have to give him a smackdown because Griffith never wants Guts to get to be in a place where he gets to be that cool or that the army would lean in towards Guts. He always has to remind people that he's the one at the top, that Guts is quote unquote, that he owns him, that he belongs to him, that he's just an extension of his greatness, not a greatness in his own. And I think that that's always going to be an important theme while we're hanging out with this little bitch. And this little bitch is Griffith. So I thought it was a very interesting thing that we went into this battle with the disgusting Zodd who likes to just take bites out of people.
Yeah, he's he's taking
bites.
a bite out of crime.
That's exactly what I said when I was reading it. I was like, we're just taking bites out of people. And then I was like, Zodd takes a bite out of crime. I don't know if that would mean anything to anyone, but I also think it's interesting that he's a Ken doll. I asked this in these words: if you sell your soul, do you sell your penis? Does it make sense that men believe it's a center of power, but it's the thing that you most love and you have to give up in order if you don't have any people that you love in order to gain
I just think our guy wasn't allowed to draw dicks.
Yeah, I know, but making this choice when he could have just held a head in front of his dick instead of just Ken-dolling him, I'm like, just hold something in front of it rather than making it Ken-dolled. You know what I mean? Because then it's there but not.
I think
it makes it better.
I think the issue is he wants poses that specifically evoke I don't care if I'm naked. The same with Griffith, but also he's not allowed to draw a dick, so he's like...
You know what? I can't believe that this person says, now you can show the edge of a mushroom and you can just show the edge of a mushroom.
Yeah, but like if you want a pose that's explicitly I don't care if you're looking at my dick, you can't partially draw the dick, you know?
I agree, but the problem is for me that it doesn't give me that feeling because I saw it and I was like, yeah, you're fully exposed. You're doing that media piece of being naked is nothing to me. The body is nothing to me, but not having a dick there is just so attention grabbing. And so I was like, if you just had a dead head in front of him or something, I would feel like he was more naked, and it would give me more of that feeling for some reason.
Holy shit, I just had a
Uh,
realization.
what is it?
Guts' fighting style in Zodd and with breaking that guy's axe with his helmet. The reason Guts wants a gigantic fucking sword he trains to use and hurts his body to be able to handle and is breaking other people's equipment is because he lives in a world where his weapon and his strength are all he can rely on. So he has a weapon that's as unbreakable as possible by being as big as possible so that he can rely on it, so that he can't be betrayed by the thing he trusts.
100%. I 1,000,000% agree.
Ah, I fucking love the depth of character in this series.
I love how deep we're getting into Griffith through other
Well,
into Guts Berserk through other characters.
well, what I
I
was going to
like how
say is we're getting into Guts Berserk through Griffith mostly because through this entire section, and I think that's made clear through Griffith at least this arc we've been reading, Griffith is the protagonist because Guts is a character who doesn't have a motivation, and Griffith is. He has a dream, and his dream is pushing things forwards. Through all the other parts, we've had Guts live with some form of motivation, whether that's just to survive, etc. But Griffith kind of sapped him of motivation now, and he's become a tool, which is why Griffith feels like the protagonist of this section.
yeah. And I want to get into that in a minute, but I really felt like every time I was watching things happen to other people, I was always watching the character building of Guts through the things that other people were doing, and you don't always get that with an author where they're able to grow your main protagonist through the actions of others so much. And I thought that was a very unique thing. I love that Griffith gets hurt in this battle.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I think it
so
makes him.
he's not a person. He's beyond a human. He says he's not a person, which made me think that he is one of the people who come from God. When we talk about demon versus God, I'm starting to feel like there is no demon versus God, that God is the demon.
Well, and
And
it
I,
felt like a line in this section vouched for you in that.
yeah, exactly. And I started to be like, okay, so there is no God, there's only demon. And that's
Or
better.
is there no demon, only God?
That's what I mean. Like this, and there is that God is the same as being a
Mm-hmm.
demon. Like, why do we always have to attribute God as being a thing that would be positive? And I think that this author was just like, what if we just got rid of that line? Why do we call it God and the devil, whereas the devil is really a type of God? Why don't we just say gods? Well, because you're not, it seems like a code to make something lesser, but it has so much power. So that's ridiculous.
Okay.
So I think we're kind of looking at that. I love that he was able to cut him. The transformation when he went into his um transformation and became just like full traditional what we think of as being devil like, I was like, oh yes. What did I put here? I have a note. Well. Oh, that's what I put. Well. Good for you. Oh, this is why in these past 300 years of slaughter, when I was looking at that, and he said the first human ever to drive a sword deep into my body in these past 300 years of slaughter. And that was one of the, I said, well, because I was talking about his fighting style and his ability to move and morph.
And he's just fast.
And I was feeling very smug with my finding. Is what
Zodd's
was
design
happening
is
there.
pretty cool. I did like it. It felt very like typical demon was my only big issue. That like I like monster designs that have a bit of freshness to them, and Zodd feels very much like a demon.
I felt like he felt like a werewolf cat demon.
Werewolf cat demon, that's fair. He got the claws. The
Yeah.
claws were the interesting thing. He does own it. Zodd has fucking swagger. Zodd works for real.
He has some of the best swiggity swag. His outfit is killing it. I was just super happy about this fight, mostly for the moment that he starts eating all of the different people in the thing. And then the worst sexy doll mouth is right here. Like, if you're looking for the best example of sex doll mouth, 4, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 420.
I saw someone say that it feels minstrel
Bottom right-hand
show
corner.
to them, which I could see that this is like an artist who doesn't really know how to draw black people drawing a darker skinned woman and being like, this is right, I guess.
Making the mouth that light. It's not just the lightness, though,
It's
it's
not
the
just the
shape.
lightness, but it's also the shape, is what I'm saying. Because, like, when you're exaggerating ethnic groups, a lot of black people have more pronounced lips, which is why
No,
a
because
lot
he
of
makes it too
people
small. He
make
makes it
things
very
look.
small, and he makes it
He makes
very
it small,
pursed
but because all the mouths are pretty much, unless you're a
he
monster,
also
small
makes
in
it a
this
little bit
series.
open in the middle. It's nice. You could say what you want. It's a sex doll. He's giving a feeling, and it's sex doll.
Someone came in with a comment, first time chatter. Thank you, High King Sinbad. Yay! I was finally
Hi,
able to catch a
King
live one, and they showed up
Sinbad.
just as you were saying. It's giving sex doll.
Welcome, High King Sinbad. Get used to that. Most people come in just in the midst of something really weird being said. I'm
That
not
is
gonna lie.
actually true. It feels like it's very common for people to say, "Hey, it's my first time here,"
Like
just as we're
like,
saying
you
some
remember
shit.
the time that we had someone say, "Hey, my first time catching a stream," and we literally had just said Roman dildo.
Yeah, which I mean, there's a reason. It contextually made sense,
Exactly.
guys.
Usually contextually there's a reason for things, but still, nonetheless, it was a bit much. Okay.
Okay.
Super like we already knew that there was going to be something big, awesome, and amazing about the bell hat, but having the monster go, "Oh my god, wait, what is this?
The
The egg
bailiff.
of the king!" and freak out. It can't be the egg of the king, a cub like him with the crimson bell hat, bellalet of the god hand. And then the pause and the staring at him and the just like being like, well,
Guess I'm outie.
guess that's enough for me, ladies and gentlemen.
What
I'm gonna
time I
just
go
peace
hitting
out.
hit the old dusty trail.
Which for me made me be like, ah, yeah, see, he's marked. He's definitely marked because the fact that this was given to him says, and that it's a necklace that's a Balhalit is around his neck, then it's basically saying, like, don't touch this, bitch. This is mine. And so, in the exact same way that Griffith feels that he owns Mr. Berserk, Guts Berserk, the little does Griffith know that that same thing has happened to him.
I also love how much this is highlighting how the demons work. That this guy makes clear that what happened to the dude in the Black Swordsman arc is just how these things, or I guess the Guardians of Desire arc, is actually how these things work. Because he's like, yeah, when this guy's ambitions fail, then you will see. Which is like, yeah, of course it makes sense when Griffith runs into the limits of his ambition, where the world won't let a common born man, no matter how great, accomplish what he wants and become king. That's when the demons will strike and offer him power and ask
Yeah,
to take whatever
exactly.
matters most. Oh, I want to
Which
talk
is
about the
just
next
this is
section,
a
but I
form
won't.
of long-term manipulation, like, they know, and that's more evidence that Griffith is being used in as much of a way as he is using Guts, he is also being used,
Hmm.
and I love that, because then we're watching Griffith think that he's above everything and that he is gonna become so powerful, and you and I have that same position, and don't get me wrong, like, I think Griffith is gonna be one of the biggest pieces of shit ever to be born, but he still feels like he is also, I mean, if you're the hand of God, all you're doing is the moving fingers of God's agency, and
Hmm.
so Griffith may think that he has everything sewed up and he wants to become this thing and he's gonna get it, but they're gonna wait until the last second, just when it's like, um just when he's like, I can't push past that last limit of power, and then they're going to be like, well, here you go, baby, this is how it happens. What are you willing to give up? That's the most important thing.
And he's gonna be like, I've got this guy who's really good at hitting stuff with a big sword,
Yeah,
and a
I
girl
already
who's got
told
a
him I
crush
owned
on
him,
me.
so I can sell him if I want. What do you think? And here's a word of warning, Noah prophecy: if you can be said to be a true friend of this man, then take heed. When his ambition collapses, which is exactly what you and I just said, because
Yep.
a collapsing of an ambition would be when he's gone to the limit of his power.
Yep.
Death will pay you a visit, a death you can never escape. So here is the interesting thing about that, because this is claiming that he's a true friend, and later we find out when
Well,
Griffith says what he calls a true friend
I
that Guts wouldn't.
I have a read of that situation that I think is very interesting, and I
When we
want to get
get
to it,
there,
but I want to save it. Yeah.
did you? Did you get it through your cheat?
No, because the cheat was a arc called Casca, so it's actually more about Casca. I'm just kidding. Griffith
Okay,
comes up in it, but
that's
it's
fine.
not informed by it.
Because I have so many things to talk about too. I'm trying to move through this. That's why I keep pushing you, because I have I
And if
loved
we're
the
trying to
end of
stick to our
this.
schedule, we only have an hour, so we do need to push.
Yeah, I loved this whole section. I didn't care about Griffith being sick. I didn't care about thank you. I didn't care about any of that. I don't give a shit. Oh, Griffith's hurt. Well, we know he's gonna be fine. I don't really care. Go away, Griffith. Yeah, we're getting into court politics. That's all going to become important, but we
I
don't
liked the
really
court
need to talk
politics.
about.
I think it was well
Yeah,
handled.
I do too. I don't need to talk about it a ton
No,
because it
it
is
was
the
just good.
same as court politics all the time.
I think it's a little bit different in that it acknowledges. It feels like there's more that it acknowledges that a lot of court politics things don't. Like,
But it doesn't acknowledge it in this part. It acknowledges it after in the part I want to talk about.
fair. Let's keep moving.
And that's when we're like, oh.
I have never read or seen Devilman. I'm not aware of this gentleman. Devilman.
Doubleman.
Devilman.
Okay, so I wrote a da here, and that was kind of me. Nosferatu Zodd. Who would have thought that a monster that fantastic exists? And then Griffith. I felt like I was having a nightmare. But if you look at it in a different way, it might be proof that there is something huge, something beyond human understanding in this world. I wrote a duh. For instance, what are called gods or something like that. And he says, don't you mean devils? And so I think this was the
Yeah.
reason that I appreciated the thing that the guy said about how he gave away things that he didn't wish to. And I know that he took a chapter out, but you can't take everything out. And I think this was another thing where he just kind of gave it away. Because in my opinion,
buzz someone into the
away.
apartment real quick.
Pardon?
Just a sec. Buzzing you in. I had to buzz someone into the apartment. Amazon.
Because I really just felt like this gave it away. He basically he was trying to tell us like God and the devil are the same goddamn thing. Like why do you feel like they always have to be separate? Which is fine, because then he says right here, who knows? Aren't they just the same thing? So he just says it right out loud. He says the part, and I think that you think that we can go through this and then people won't notice. But I think they're just trying to tell you, no, they're all the same damn thing.
I really like how much in the series is spelled out through implication. Like, if you read between the lines and think about it, there's so much you can get from this of the plot and the cosmology that doesn't need to be said. It's really, really well done.
I agree. This quiet conversation between them was so important too, where it's just Griffith and Guts, because this is where Guts feels like he's legitimately a friend with Griffith, because he feels that way because he thinks back on what Nosferatu Zodd says to him and about if you were truly a friend of this man.
Yep.
Page 471 of the Black Book. Because otherwise he wouldn't be having those memories right now in this moment. So it's reestablishing this feeling of them just being very, very good friends, which is going to be really important for the part where he's going to manipulate him more openly and crush him.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah. But when I looked back on it, I was like, well done. If we hadn't had this moment between them, then that wouldn't have been as poignant. Okay. Your dad brought me lunch.
That's important.
Listen.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have lunch brought to you?
Yesterday I did.
It's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Ironically, mine is grilled cheese, so.
Man, there's a sandwich place that's amazing next to where I live, and I'm about to move, and I didn't try a sandwich from there until like months before I'm gonna leave this place, and it's right by my house, like walking distance.
Do you feel silly for that?
I feel so silly. It's also the best soup I've ever had. I had like, I'm not even joking. I've never had better soup. I had Mexican corn chowder, and I've never had a tastier soup. It was so fucking good.
I'm so happy for you. You're still in the same town.
Yeah, I can get it, but like losing it as a walking distance thing is gonna like after I took this long to be aware of it. So sad. I'm choppy again, dude. How is this possible? How is this possible? We fixed it.
The ad break keeps talking about soup. That's amazing.
Yeah, they're telling us to keep talking about soup because it's on ad break. Yeah.
The
Guys, I'm doing it.
The princess meeting the princess. Does she remind you of someone from like? I can't put my finger on it.
Someone from our hometown?
Yeah, I did. Maybe. She reminds me of someone so much, I can't even like, it's killing me. It's a person I know or a character I know. I can't mm, I did woke. Um,
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, Charlotte. Anyways, I really do feel like he built her character to be just under age. So you're like, "Ooh, this is a very young girl."
And what I actually love about it is it's not like One Piece where, and again, I'll try not to talk about our other series too much, but in One Piece, I'm so often like, wow, look at this hot adult woman. And then Oda will be like, that's a 16-year-old. Bet you feel fooled. I genuinely feel like Casca comes across as 16 to 18. And this princess comes across as 16. Like that's how they feel. She feels like a
Yeah.
teenager, like old and intelligent enough to have agency, too young
Yeah.
to not be manipulated and swept up.
100%, but
Mhm.
also a little bit young enough to be manipulated and swept up.
Yes,
Because
like
later
that's what I'm
on,
saying. She's young and naive, but still like has intelligence and agency to her.
and so I feel that when Griffith talks to her later
It
on,
feels terrifying.
thank you, Parasocial. It is terrifying because you are watching him do things like make her feel like she is older than she actually is, and that for the very first time, somebody understands her and allows her to have her own opinions, and he cares about what she thinks. And so all of these things come at the exact right age for her to be like feeling like um somebody sees her as her own person, separate of being a princess and
Yep.
separate of being a child of a king. And it's so manipulative that it's just the
Yep.
exact thing.
It's it feels like it's the exact right age to be terrified for her, where she's wanting to be respected as her own person, and Griffith is the wrong person to be giving her that. But like he also gives this dangerous, exciting feeling of, oh, he's common born and had risen through the ranks. He's this strange exception, and he's this beautiful, powerful man that everyone respects, and that I'm
Everyone respects him for his
that I'm
fighting ability. He
that I'm
makes me
not
feel so
supposed to
safe.
talk to, but my dad is giving the time of day to. And like everything about it lines up for me to be like, oh, this is fucking terrible. Oh no. And she does her
He's the
fake
exact
trip to get
opposite.
held by him. And she's like, yeah, I have smooth moves. And it's like, you've just walked into a trap. You poor bitch. Oh no.
I felt so bad for her, but it was Stazzy boy is exactly right. It was a masterclass.
It's so well done. She's characterized so quickly. Like, okay, this is what I want to talk about. One of the big things, and I'll bring it up again when we talk about guts. One of the big things that I think this series doesn't get enough credit for, because I've heard so many things about the art quality where people are like, it's so incredibly detailed, which is true. Yeah, sure. But fucking move on. Anyone can add details till the cows come home. What's impressive is that he can add detail without making it look ugly, because that is hard. And usually more detail makes things look worse. And he's very good at controlling the detail. But the more impressive thing about his art that no one talks about is that guy is a master of nuanced expressions. You can tell so much about a character from the expressions alone, and is insanely impressive.
I would agree 1,000,000%. The and then he also talks about it because he makes it a thing that's actually something they talk about how Griffith's face can change in slight ways to become a different person.
Mhm.
So he even draws attention to his ability to do that, which
Mhm.
is wicked. Uh, talk
He's
about an
so
egg
good.
face on 489. The dude who is um he looks like the Bellalit or Belhalit.
Bahamut?
He
I
yeah.
think it's is it Bahamut or is it I don't know. I've heard both from
I've
commenters.
actually had two people correct me in opposite directions.
Yeah,
So that was
whatever.
fun. So what they never call it is a Bella hat, and I do that sometimes. Um but he looks just like a Behalit on 489, the dude who is Lord Julius's little man. He is such an egghead that looks just like one of the faces on the eggheads.
Huh.
Do you see what Board Skeleton put? It's pronounced Behalah.
Whatever. Bahamut. You know what? The bad egg. The bad egg's got such a funny little face.
Drawk, I forgot to say something. So before you start going too hard on Adonis, I want him to be a ghost.
No promises.
No, I need him to be a ghost. That's who he is.
No
That's what that is.
promises.
Promise.
No promises. We'll keep going.
Promise.
No, keep moving.
You're the worst.
I'm not rendering it literally. I'm gonna do fun color stuff again, so we'll see if it can come through even.
It's very important.
Because I don't actually think the way I'm planning on doing the render, I can accomplish him looking like a ghost.
So when he says it's a rumor told by many, however, one cannot scorn his ability on the battlefield. That of the band of Hawkeye is ever victorious in an indisputable fact. He is surely a godsend in our time of conflict. And I was like, godsend indeed. Sent by a god who is also evil, and that we need to quit acting as if this god is anything other than evil. And so yeah, he absolutely was sent here for a
But it
very
feels like
specific
most
reason.
people worship God as this very nebulous, uninteractable thing. Like it feels like they are not people who live in a world where they understand there is a real cosmology. Like to them, God
I
is a
agree, but
nebulous
they do
entity.
actually worship in it a very big way. This dude here
But
seems
but
to
I think
be a
they worship in the
worshiper.
way people worship things in our world. Like I think a lot of people are Christian and believe in God and the Bible and everything, but also don't feel like they have a concrete idea of the inner workings of heaven and what demons are and the nature of God as a personality. Like,
A lot of people don't, but a lot of people feel like they do.
but most religious people I think don't, which is why I think saying things that are godsend in this world is so deeply ironic because they don't know that God is a cruel, horrific entity. That I'm coming along with you, and I think that it absolutely is. Like God and the devil are one, and that's why Griffith
Yeah.
said what he said.
And then when we changed the page, I was like, oh my God, he even talks about it, or oh a God. And he's laying there, he's re-putting his sword back up to the moon. The moon is on the tip of his sword, and then he says, tell me, do I need a reason each time I put myself in harm's way? Da 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 da. And he's like, I have laid this way once before. That one time I was in the same sort of glaringly bright full moon, and it shows him in that exact same pose that I said before. Like it was almost like he was making a pact with the heavens at that time. And it feels like he's doing that exact same thing right now. And so that's why the things that happen after this are so important. His moments with Griffith defining what's going to happen to him are so important because it feels like he's answered. He gets an answer from the deity. The answer is just, we're going to use the shit out of you.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, damn. That's dark as ass. And I like how they try to kill him, and there's the poison, and the Behelit is like, oh, are you trying to kill Griffith? That's cute.
Sorry, that's our boy.
That's our boy. I chose that boy. That's my index finger, and you're not going to be doing that.
And what I love about that is it really feels like the God hand, God or the God's hand or God, whatever, fucking, is allowing Griffith to lose everything but his life. That is a one
Yes.
thing he is not allowed to lose.
Yeah. Because you can't be
Mhm.
used for the things that God needs you to be used for if you are dead. So we've invested a lot of time and energy in you. You got the ingredients to make a real bad kid. We can't let you die.
We have a special kind of bastard here.
You know what? You have all the right ingredients at the right time to be that special bastard.
Sugar, spice, and everything fucked up. We got the recipe right on hand.
And then they even tell us again, this is the devil's own luck. Really, it's truly a good luck charm. So they're saying the quiet part out loud over and over again.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's the
they don't
devil's own
know,
luck.
but Griffith, I do love Guts being like, yeah, this actually ain't okay though, right? Like this here is a problem.
Absolutely. Okay.
Well, he
Now
is
we can
destined and
start
chosen,
setting
but he
next.
has to sacrifice because what we've seen of demons is that they need to destroy your humanity, and they can only destroy your humanity by having you willingly destroy what connects you to the human world. The one thing that kept the barren human was his daughter, and it was the thing he couldn't give, and that's why he couldn't become a demon. So I think it's very intentional by God or the God hand that truly you must yourself forsake what it makes you human, what connects you to humanity. And
That's
For
exactly where we're going with this, and that's why I
oh, I
wanted
want
a
to talk about the next arc so bad. Let's move on.
no, and that's why I wanted Adonis to be a ghost, because that's exactly what we have happening in the next thing. So we define that Guts is his friend. We put them back together. They sit there. The king comes out. They have that moment together. When he gets hit, Guts gets riled, but has to pull himself in. We see that Griffith immediately had taken the knee before. Guts had to be told to do it, which shows the difference in who they are and knowing how to manipulate and play within a system. And then Griffith is like, hey, Guts, this poison is very expensive, just so you know. Only somebody, and I already found out that somebody came out of the shop, and it's the same person who has this ability. And he is definitely trying to kill me. That's obvious. We both know that. And he's like, well, it seems like it. I mean, I'm going to have to give you that.
Well, and then,
So
he's like, it seems like it, and Griffith's like, here's the evidence, and then Guts is like, yeah, yeah, he is.
yeah, you ain't wrong, bro. You ain't wrong. And then he goes, to become great, one has to be able to do more than fight. So he proves to Griffith, I have the reading, I have the understanding, I'm moving forward. So even though they're friends, he's putting those subtle little shifts in there where later on, if he pulls the trigger, because he's setting the trap right now, Guts will be like, oh, he does feel like he owns me. He does not believe he is my friend. He does feel like he is just my
And the
better.
line here that sells Guts starting to be aware of it, but in a cute, cheeky way where he's still like on board is, why don't you just get to the point where you order me to do it?
Exactly. That's exactly where I was going. You hit
Yep.
the exact point
So good.
where he says this. Having said all that, blah blah blah. So you need something for me. I'd like you to kill a man for me. And he says it in such a just like a after Gut says that to him, like, come on, just can we quit playing this game? Can we get to the point where you just tell me what you want me to do? But the reason he doesn't right away is because that is a type of acquiescence that got just made to him. When you talked about you have to choose whether to give away your soul and da 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 da.
You have
That's
to
what
give
Guts
away
does.
whether to give your agency too. It's not just your
Exactly.
humanity. It has to be your choice to give away your
It
agency.
has to be your choice to give it away. And so when Guts says that to him, he basically says, let's be honest. You know I'm going to do whatever you tell me to do. Can we just get to the part where you tell me to do it? But Griffith wouldn't, because he's making him first say that line so that
Yep.
Guts at some point has to take responsibility for all the actions that he's about to go through.
Yep.
So then when when he says I'm asking you to do this to me, or asking you to do this for me, and he says just cut to the chase and order me to do it like always. And you're like, okay, so you chose. You have to give Bellamy a treat. You chose.
I'm
You
already on it.
decided. You
Yeah, we are.
decided to do this. You decided to do whatever it is that he wants of you. That is now your choice. And so he goes and he watches it and he sees himself in this little boy Adonis, which is so important
God,
because
yes.
he watches the way that his father treats him. He has the same look. When you look at this prince's face, he's got the same look as his adopted piece of shit father in his eyes. Especially
It's
like
so sad.
when you look at this page here, 49, 50, 451, there's a scene right in the center in one of the panels where he looks just like him. And he says, Adonis must someday become a leader of my White Dragon Knights, the mightiest force in the land. And that's not all. As royalty, he may possibly wed Princess Charlotte and gain control of the Midlands. So he's like using him, and he's wild-eyed, and he's crazy, and
He
Guts
might have to
has
marry
see
his
all this.
cousin one day.
Exactly. And Guts has to see all this. And then right after he's all enraged, he throws the boy and hurts him. And then we go back to Guts, who just goes through his own childhood and watches his father, who's got the same type of eyes, throwing him around. And he goes and smashes his head in that subtle face feeling you were talking about, where he has that subtle face shift. smashes his head against a chimney, and then goes, "Ugh, I can't be careless at this time." Like he's trying to drive the memories out of his head.
Can I say something that I read into the facial expressions we see from Guts?
Yeah.
I feel as though Adonis's father, what's his fuck that I can't remember the name of, reminding him of, why can't I remember the name of his? I can't remember names today. Gambino, reminding him of Gambino, I feel like made it easier to kill him, Julius, made it easier to kill Julius and harder to have killed Julius afterwards.
I think it absolutely did. It
Like,
absolutely did.
I
But
think,
the thing that it
yeah,
did
I
the
think he felt
best,
like he was freeing Adonis in attacking him, and then afterwards there was a moment of pain of like, I just killed Gambino again.
exactly. And so we had that feeling for a moment. But the thing that it actually did the best, in my opinion, that I thought was like, whoa, is he does that. He has to re-kill his father. It doesn't feel like he's re-killing his father at first. It feels like he's killing the oppressor of Adonis.
Yeah.
And he's like, screw you. Screw you hurting this little boy. I know how this little boy feels. I was this little boy.
Yeah.
And then once he's dead, he's like, oh my God, that was kind of a reminder of killing my father all over again. And then he kills Adonis.
Yep.
And you could see the choice he made. The door opens. He sees someone standing there, and he uses his intense phasing speed and kills Adonis before he even knows who it was. You can see it because he doesn't really know. Intruder, I've been seen. And he acts without thinking. And then Adonis's eyes go wide and childlike. And then this part mortifies me because this is his first truly evil act.
Yep. Guts until now hasn't. He's killed soldiers. He's killed people whose job it is to kill and be killed. That's it.
Exactly.
This is a civilian. Even Julius, killed in his own home, was a general. He was a military man. He was a fighter.
Yes.
His death
Yes.
wasn't that like unexpectable, even if this wasn't the circumstances for it. But like,
Yes.
and what I love about this is Guts in this moment reacts in the way he was instructed to. The trauma that made him want to kill Julius and the trauma that made him unable to be rational and think through his actions in killing Adonis is trauma that was caused by the man who put him in this situation. I said that wrong, but basically what I'm trying to say is Guts was molded into a weapon, shaped to stab first, think later, and replace all thought with violence when he's in a stressful situation and can't think well, is too traumatized to think well by the person who made this such a driving moment, who made this so painful. Like, I do think he sees his childhood as negative. I think he felt sympathy for the abuse his child suffered, but I think he also, because of I think it's a mix. I think he does know that Gambino wasn't fair to him now that he's seen kindness, and I think he feels for this kid. But yeah, I do think it was hard for him to kill Julius by seeing him as Gambino. It really is both to me. That's what it comes across.
Okay, so this is what I saw. It's his very first evil act.
Mhm.
And he watches the kid fall. He didn't know it was the kid. We don't know if he would have chosen to kill the kid or what he would have done. And he watches him fall. He realizes what he's done. The small expression on his face as they're looking face to face is he doesn't even take his sword out yet. He doesn't know what to do. He's just sitting there in shock. And then the child reaches forward because he is only a child. And he needs to hold the hand of an adult, even though it is his killer. He needs not to be alone in his dying, because he is only a child. And so he reaches out for the hand of the person who has just murdered him. And when he does that, Guts also realizes he has just murdered the child within inside himself.
Mm-hmm.
And taken away his own innocence. That because this act was so heinous and so evil, and that this actual innocent child is so innocent and so loving that he grabs the hand of his killer so that he can feel comforted at the end of his life. and Guts forces himself to hold it and keep his eyes while he dies. Guts realizes he is watching himself killing his innocence so that he can become the person that Griffith needs.
Yep.
And he has killed anything that was left in him that was soft, anything that was left in him that was childlike. He has just put that to death. Watching him, like, I'm tearing up.
Mm-hmm.
The sexual assault was hard. This was so much harder to watch.
Yep.
Watching a person be so young, so sweet, so innocent that they had to hold the hand of their killer so they didn't feel alone at the end of their life in that pain was too much. And then when Guts' eyes go wide and he's just staring down and he watches him choke to death and take his final breaths and his eyes go wide and he slaps his hand over his mouth and he realizes that's it. He stares at his hand covered in blood and slaps it over his face and says to himself, that's it. Like, I am now this killer. And the first thing that he needs to do when he runs away, when he hides, when he crawls through everything, when he escapes, all he is trying to do is get to Griffith so that Griffith, in his friendship with him, and he thinks as we're going through, he has those visions of Gambino and the monster Zodd and the fighting, and he has all these visions over and over again, and then he kills himself. A sword goes through his middle and he kills himself, and the face on it is himself on the monster because the devil is you. And so it felt like this person had done the best job of showing us the devil, that he realizes that he just killed the innocence and the child inside of him for Griffith. He will never be the same. He is now Zodd.
Oh my god, I didn't think of that symbolism though, that like the reason his vision is a demonic him killing child him is that, yeah, he's killing his inner child, he's killing his innocence, the good in him.
That's it. It's gone.
Oh
That's
man,
dead. And that's
so
why it was so
tragic.
important that he had to hold Adonis's hand. That was the last act of decency, and he knew what he had just really killed. And it shows it in that flashback. So now he's just racing to find Griffith. He's broken. He's not the same person anymore. And when he's walking up those stairs, it's as if he's walking towards his future, and it's going to take some effort. So it's an uphill battle. And then he sees Griffith with the Princess Charlotte, and you can tell that he's like, I'm going to wait until she's not around because it's important for me to be able to talk to him. But he sees that he's acting like a completely different person. He's allowed in a completely different realm. He gets to be somebody very, very different than Guts gets to be. But he's like, that doesn't matter because what we have is more important, and using the princess is just part of his goal to become like leader of all things. So that doesn't even matter to him. But he's just kind of standing there thinking of it.
So I want to do
go
a
ahead.
brief segue to mention how much of a trope it is to have a fancy girl be out with a boy who's more roughneck and be like, oh, these parties are not for me, and it's cute and charming, and how this is the first time I've seen that happen. And then the guy goes on a speech about how man's ambition is everything, and the world is tools for conquest and shit, and stands on a fountain. Like, that part is fucking wild. Like, this girl clearly did not expect this to go this way. But also, I think in the next scene we see so much so important, because I think you're so right that this is Guts looking for Griffith to find the person who gives him meaning. And Casca choosing to go with him, I think, wasn't just to stop him from interacting with Griffith. I think this
you're
was
cutting out. You gotta do it. People couldn't hear you.
Guys, I am recording locally, but I don't. Why is Streamlabs? If I look at it, it stops cutting out. If I look at it, it's. Guys, I just gotta say it again. I don't know. No, it did it. It cut out again. Fucking. There's no solution at this point. There just is no solution.
After this thing, you're gonna have to problem solve and try and figure it the heck out.
Why? It worked last night. You keep going. I'm going to go
Mom,
unplug and replug again and hope it fixes it for some reason.
oh, this page. I thought it was super, super funny. I know that sounds weird given that I was just talking about how this part made me cry so badly. But he says here, which made me a little bit like, oh, Your Highness asked that. You back?
They probably can't hear me. You might just need to take the rest of this one for the most part.
Okay. Your Highness asked that the hunting grounds, it certainly could be that men possess those savage sides, but that is a tool by which they secure and protect a precious thing. So that line basically said guts is also a tool to me, because he says, Your Highness asked at the hunting that same question about it would be so much better just to end war itself. But he said it certainly could be that men possess that savage side, but that is a tool by which they secure and protect precious things. It's just the thing that precious things to him are taking over the world and becoming a king. And then she goes, precious things like family or sweethearts. There are things like that. For a man, before he can obtain those two, perhaps he must come upon some other precious thing. And then what is that precious thing? A dream. I almost died laughing when I read this. I was like, seriously? Are we in One Piece again? Is Griffith in One Piece? Are we going to meet Luffy? We're back to dreams again? Being able to have a focus in a dream?
I've been thinking about this, and I think there's a reason that ambition and dream are such common themes in manga. And I think it really comes down to that the manga industry is so brutal and requires so much work out of people that really the type of person who is able to make a manga has to be someone so driven by their dream, what they care about, and their drive to succeed that they will put themselves through hell to do it. Like, I think there is a selection error in manga as an industry that causes the theme of hard work, discipline, and ambition to be so relevant, because
I would agree.
anyone whose internal locus is not built around those things will not succeed. Whereas things like both nepotism but also teamwork are so much more viable to get published in the West, that comic books don't have this selection bias where you only have the people who are the most absurdly driven able to create works. I think it's a strange result of the manga industry.
I would agree. Okay, so he says the dream part, and I'm like, yeah, I would agree. And your outlining of that is beautiful. And I was like, okay, sweet. Now Griffith is listening to all of this, and he's like, sustained by a dream, hurt by a dream, revived by a dream, killed by a dream, and even after being abandoned by a dream, it continues to smolder from the bottom of one's heart until the verge of death. A man should envision such a lifetime once, a life spent as a martyr to the god named dream. And so when Griffith hears this, he realizes, I don't think I understood the lengths to which his ambition are soaked in him. And he has just killed everything inside of himself that was young and innocent and sweet. He has just killed his own child. He has become the devil for Griffith. And then Griffith says, ultimately to be born and then to simply live for no better reason. I can't abide such a lifestyle. And the reason that they put his face next to Griffith's face next to Guts' face here is Guts realizes, yeah, that is exactly what I've been doing. I've just been trying to stay alive. My entire life has just been me moving place to place, trying to stay alive, being assaulted physically, sexually, mentally, being tormented, being the person on the butt end of everything, and then coming out on the other side and just fighting just for what? But staying alive. That's all I've been doing. And I chuck myself at death's paths every chance I get. And then Griffith is realizing, or Guts is realizing, that Griffith has no respect for a person who would be that way. Griffith doesn't give a shit about a person who would feel that way. And then Charlotte basically agrees. She says in this way full of reverence, oh, like she's just, her eyes are open and, oh, how lucky am I to see this. And he says, and right now you say the kinds of things to me a philosopher would say. So she's already she's already saying, like, he is the center of amazingness, a wondrous person. So immediately we know that all of this is playing for her. Griffith is let it out into the perfect place. Guts is discovering that Griffith doesn't see him as anything important. And I started to be like, does he know that Guts is there? Because it almost feels like he owns Guts. The Belhalit is letting him know what he can feel when people are near him. He has an ability, because he shows up all the time or knows where to be in Guts' path when he was trying to manipulate him. And it felt like he knew that Guts was saying there, and that he was saying this for Guts' benefit, and letting Guts know that he wasn't a man that would stand up with his own possession of who he is. And so therefore he could never be a friend, because he said, I imagine all of your friends too must have come so far with you, attracted by that charm. And then he goes, they're excellent troops, and together we have faced death so many times, and they're valuable comrades, devoting themselves to a dream that I envision. But to me, a friend is something else. Someone who would never depend upon another's dream. Someone who wouldn't be compelled by anyone, but would determine and pursue his own reason to live. And should anyone trample on that dream, he would oppose him body and soul, even if it meant a threat were to me, myself. And so it felt like he was speaking directly to Guts, and then he says, what I think a friend is one who is my equal. And Guts stands there and realizes just how much he can never be a friend of Griffith, and how Griffith is letting him know in this moment that killing this little boy, killing his innocence, walking around and doing the work of a devil was his own choice, and means that he could never truly be Griffith's equal. And therefore, no friend of Griffith.
And I think going back, all of this centers around the singular moment where he says, just get to the point where you order me, basically giving his agency to Griffith. And it feels like that is meant to be the center of this segment. That is meant to be the most important moment that makes Guts have to take responsibility for that. This is his choice. And the face expression that we get here is what I want to talk about, because I think it's beautiful, because I feel like it's not just being hurt. It's also in that moment, Guts feeling like he went out of his way to recruit me, to mold me, to have me. Did he hope that I would oppose him, that I would continue to want to fight? Did I fail my chance to be his friend by breaking down, by giving in, by over these years losing that thing that he cared about and valued, of wanting to not, God damn it, people, the people on YouTube will hear this, because it's not my mic, it's Streamlabs. Might need to switch streaming software, or I might uninstall and reinstall Streamlabs. The rest of the episode's for you. People can't hear me.
It's actually really too bad, because you are exactly right. And so let me replay what you're saying for others. Is that because then they'll hear it. The idea, so what Drawk is saying is, the idea is that he's wondering, Guts is thinking to himself, holy shit, did Griffith want me to oppose him? Did Drawk is saying, did Griffith want me to stand up and become his equal, to stand beside him and be his friend, to have my own dream and my own ambition? Is that what he was saying when he kept telling me not to run into the middle of battle and just fight as if I wanted to die? Did he realize that I didn't have that in me, and that I'm not worth being a friend to, because I am the type of man who couldn't get past my own trauma and my own shit? And so, hello, Raiders. And so
we're talking about Berserk. Thank you for the insanely big 74-person raid. Thank you so much. All right, let's keep rolling.
Amazing, Raiders. Thank you so much for being here in the Berserk living, struggling hell.
We're in the struggle.
We're in the struggle. We're deep in the struggle. And so I think that's a really good point that you're making, because his face does say, holy shit, I'm never going to be his equal. I'm always going to be less than him, and I just murdered a little boy. I just gave up the last good part of myself. And for what? To just be a follower of Griffith, never a friend, never an equal. And so that amazing black page on the other side, where Griffith is way ahead of him in the distance, showing how far apart the two are, how they are not the same people. They will never be equals when Griffith is that far and that far above him. And then originally having Guts' hand down at his side like that, empty, made me feel like when I looked at it, because of the work they had done earlier when he murders the little boy Adonis and Adonis reaches out for his hand and holds it, it made me realize that that empty open hand facing backwards was like he was holding himself, his own hand as a child, and Adonis's hand, and saying, all of this, all that I have killed, for nothing.
What I love about this section too is that implication that like you were supposed to be his equal. That's why he was excited about you and you failed.
Yeah.
You failed in breaking, in binding yourself to him and not having your own dream and your own ambition. You
But I don't
failed to be
think
his
he was
friend.
ever supposed to be his equal. I think that
I
Griffith is
feel
saying this just to tear him down some more.
I feel as though there was a Griffith. The reason I think this is true is I think when you see how Griffith reacted and how he treated Guts as special, saved him and wanted him in his group and did everything to recruit him. I think Griffith did want him to be his equal. I think he was supposed to be.
I did it first, and then when I looked at the way that he talked to her for the rest of it about, oh, you have so much confidence, and that is how I have achieved everything so far. This is how I did this. I can even talk like this to a princess of a kingdom. That's how amazing I am. And then when he said, your Uncle Julius has died. Assassination, someone stuck in. And then we see Griffith's face with his Katzenaugen, his cat eyes. And he's looking down in the Stanley Kubrick stare. I realized, no, I don't think he ever intended Guts to be that. He did two things in this moment. He killed the man who defied him and made him feel like he was lesser than, got himself closer to the throne, in his own opinion, and he killed the rest of the soul and the fight from Guts so that he will become the exact tool he wants.
Oh, I don't think, for the person saying in chat, I don't think Guts cared about being Griffith's equal. He cared about being his friend. He just is now realizing that
he cared about being a friend.
to be his friend, he had to be his equal, which I also think Griffith isn't entirely wrong about, in that if someone sees themselves as your lesser, you can't really be friends.
I'm not totally, well, mean way to say it, being pretty sure of myself. It's not that I'm pretty sure of myself. It's that I have learned over time that if you're going to start extracting meaning from things, you're not hemming and hawing when you're talking about it, because you're not actually going to get very deep into it and come to a place that is real. And so I'm taking what's taking place in here and thinking about what it would mean if he knew that Griffith was there. And that's how I'm talking. I'm talking of this as if that is the truth. And I think he would have known that he was there from the footsteps. It's not like Griffith was trying to hide, or Guts was trying to hide the sound of his footsteps coming up, and then they just suddenly stopped. And you're talking about a man who fights in battles, who has battle sense. All the time, different indigenous groups talk about how you have the ability, that the thing that we hear about is, you know, when somebody is staring at you and you can feel somebody's eyes on you and you shiver and look around. That's battle sense. That's innately born into us as an ability to survive. And that when you're a person who fights in war, apparently that just goes up through the roof, and you know exactly where people are. Okay, KP, you've made a really good point. He also smells like shit.
I want to take a second here to say thank you so much for the raid. Everyone check out Mr. Crinklet. Mr. Crinkles? Mr. Crinkles! I misremembered. Mr. Crinkles. And thank you so much for saying. They said, I'm a simple man. I see good art and I raid. That is incredibly kind of you to say.
That's an amazing thing to say.
Sorry, we're not spending more time on the, oh my God, thank you, Ray. When we're in the book club mode, we tend to try to keep things moving, but I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. Anyway.
No, that was a really good point, and thank you for doing that. Yeah, so that's why in this point, I am acting as if he knew that he was there, because I'm talking from a perspective of, okay, if you were a person in battle, a person who wins this often, you would have a high sense of awareness.
There are a lot of people there, but like, because I think most
There's not. There's
likely
2 people on a balcony.
he saw. I think it works either way, but I do think Griffith knew he was there. That
I
is my
agree.
assumption. He's been so good at predicting what Guts would
There weren't
do
a lot
as
of people in the
well
party.
that I think he
Um,
was alert to it.
a Tory. There literally it's an empty balcony. If you go back through all the imagery, it is an
Guys,
empty balcony,
you the person
2
who's saying
people.
he's too smart and he would never say that if he knew Guts was there, I think the misunderstanding there is like I think he can manipulate Guts just as well by breaking him as he can by
No, better.
playing his friend.
Better. Because
Yeah.
now he knows a couple of things. I was thinking, so if I'm Guts and I've killed that side of me, you've got to double down. It makes me think of people who follow politicians who are actually evil. When they find out some of their evilness, they often double down because they otherwise you have to just admit to being fully wrong and back completely out. And then you have so much discordance within you that you end up being like, okay, so he's going to say things like, well, it's too late. I have no soul. I killed everything inside of me. I've come this far to be this person for him. And I can become his equal. He will see. I will be the best fighter. I will be the best this. I will pull myself to this position. And I think it actually might make him hungry to be even better on behalf of Griffith.
Now, if we get further on and find out that that isn't true, we'll see. I also think my read on it, why I think it's possible he heard, is that I think he wants to give Griffith or give Guts motivation to push himself to be better, to try to be like a little raider with a contrary point, to give him the motivation to be something more. Pragmatist, aware of the ideal but willing to sacrifice it any step. Sure, he loves having Guts as equal, but knows it's antithetical to his grander goal. I think that could be true. What I will say is interesting is in the Black Swordsman arc, I think we see Griffith's reaction to Guts being more the kind of person he respects and being equal to who Griffith was before becoming no longer mortal. Where we see his reaction of, you have survived so much, you've the devil's own luck. He starts saying things about Guts being impressive the way people used to talk about him. So I see this
Yep.
weird thing when we compare this to the end of the Guardians of Desire, where I feel like Griffith was looking at Guts as he was, as now being equal to what Griffith was when he was a man.
Used to be.
Yeah, which I think is very, very interesting.
But I also think this was really important. And I think that we need to remember, and this is why I said I would talk about the
Maybe, we'll
court.
see.
And I agree. I like Hardaway's perspective here. That's kind of some of the stuff I was talking about. Because we saw how good he was at manipulating court politics. And he hasn't spent a lot of time in court, and yet he was very nimble and he is well read. So the other reason that he is doing this to Guts is he's looking 3-4 plays ahead and he's cleaning up other loose ends. Guts is also getting a bit of a grand head. Think of all the people in his army who think Guts is like unstoppable and incredible. If
Yeah.
Guts rises too fast and has too much feeling for himself, the politics of his camp can change. Guts can start to feel like he isn't equal to Griffith. And this is a reminder to Guts that he is not Griffith's equal.
Now, someone's saying it feels like it's catastrophic to his plans. We'll see. We'll see if we get to a point where Griffith is like, oh no, you weren't supposed to hear this. My guess is that either that happens based off your guys' reaction, or we never really get confirmation on if this was intentional or not. But it being intentional just does feel like it works for me. I could see it being either way, but like,
But if
I
people have read
believe
ahead
that-
and they're saying that they think it's catastrophic for Griffith's plans, that's not a feeling. That is coming in with spoilers.
it might be. They're saying I think, so it might be, but it could be a missed math, but like I definitely feel as though the idea of breaking down Guts so he doesn't get too big for his britches isn't a terrible idea. It's a thing a lot of people who manipulate people do, is they try to have them hear things that break them down.
100%.
But yeah, who knows where we're going? We could be wrong. It happens all the time.
In psychology, we talk about this, about how there are levels of breaking someone, and that people who are narcissists have like phenomenal lines of knowing how far to break someone for what they're looking for. Do you want them to be a complete zombie under your control? You break them this much. Do you want them to be Do you want them to be a person who still acts with some autonomy and has hopes and will rise up and try to work hard to prove you wrong? You break them this part. And people maybe don't see that because they don't spend a lot of time looking at narcissistic behavior. But that's just one of the keystones of narcissistic personalities, is being able to know how far and how much to break somebody.
I'll say I kind of hope it stays up in the air if it was intentional or not, because
I do too.
I like the debate. I like to think about both sides of this. I think like
Yeah.
both of them honestly make sense to me, whether he meant for Guts to hear this or not. But he said so many things that feel like they are intentionally built to break Guts's
They're
autonomy
not
at a
for
time.
freaking Charlotte. They're
Yeah.
not for Charlotte. This is one
No.
of the great clues. He's not telling this to a 16-year-old, 15-year-old little girl. Like,
Yeah. When people were saying, "Do you
she
think
knows
this was
she doesn't
honest?"
understand that much.
When people
Charlotte
were
is nothing.
when people were saying, "Do you think this is honest or do you think this is just manipulating Charlotte?" The reason I most think it's about Guts is exactly what you said, that like very little of this was needed to manipulate Charlotte, and it feels very earnest, but it also feels like the only person I could see it manipulating people are Guts and Casca, the people hearing
Exactly.
it. It feels like those are the two
Exactly.
people this would hurt the most, to be told that like the fact that they have bent the knee means they will never be his equal. I am
Exactly.
choosing this life. You are great comrades. You are reliable. You are valuable, but you are not friends. And I also,
It's just like the king.
Mhm.
The king came out earlier and Guts had to bend the knee. He didn't do it right away, but he had to. And Griffith had to bend the knee. He's basically saying, we are not equals. I am the king. And I'm letting you know. And it's obviously not for Charlotte, because Charlotte doesn't need this lesson. Charlotte doesn't need these words. He could have manipulated her better for his purposes without this freaking ramble. This ramble is not for her.
Yeah, like,
did he use it well to manipulate her?
'cause, like,
Sure he did.
he is a good manipulator, and but when I think about what she so clearly said in all of her lines what she wanted Griffith to say.
Exactly.
Like, that's the big key here, is we have a character who's a manipulator, and all of Charlotte's lines kind of telegraph what circumstance she wanted. She wanted this to be a scene where she came out and was like, "Oh, these parties aren't for me. You seem so regal, and though you are a commoner." And she'd lead up with things like, "Oh, why do men love violence?" And wanted him to be like, "Well, I don't." And he's like, "Men do have a bloodthirsty side." And she's like, "Okay,
Exactly.
but what is the thing you want to protect? Is it your family and loves?" And he goes, "No,
And he's
it
like,
is
no, my dream.
dreams." Like,
Yes.
like,
That's not for Charlotte.
mhm. Because she is telegraphing what she wants to hear, and he is contradicting it to say things that are affecting other people present.
Exactly. And so I think it is a very easy view to say. You're talking, there is nobody but two people on this balcony. He can hear everything in the night. Two more people walk upstairs that are stone. I've walked upstairs stones into many a castle and into many a place. You can hear it, even if you're walking quietly, even if you're in leather boots. They get to the top, or halfway up to the top, close enough to overhear the conversation, so they walked close enough for her to hear them. And then the foots stop. You're talking about a man who is well battle worn, who would hear that 100% when there's no one else around there. And then he says things that are not for Charlotte. 100% not for Charlotte. He says things that are clearly for a different audience, because he knows who's come there. And he is waiting for somebody to show up because he's waiting to hear that a certain person is dead.
I also think people are treating.
Can I finish my thought first?
Sorry, you finish your thought. Then I want to come back to something.
And then he says things. He could have gone a direction where he said to Charlotte, yes, it's really, really important to protect those you love, and a sweetheart. And I'm creating space and safety for all those behind the line. But instead, he's like, no, I have an ambition and a dream. Well, she didn't need to know that. He can tell her a little bit, like, I have a dream, because then she will see him as somebody who wants to move on. But she's 16. She's going to see him as someone who wants to move on and have greatness. She already said he seemed like an aristocrat. That is for Griffith and for Casca, as a way of saying, you are amazing tools, which I just said a moment ago to Charlotte. I didn't need to tell her that. I could have just said, yes, I have very strong comrades and they all follow
No,
me.
the
But
argument you could
I
make
don't
is
have
that
friends.
the argument you could make is that he's separating himself from them so that he can be more mobile in court, that she will see him as not a commoner, that he is above them. But also, like, I don't buy that that's necessary.
It isn't necessary.
Not with
She already
Charlotte.
sees him as being more beautiful, more wondrous, more intelligent, a philosopher, and as it says here, a wondrous person.
Mhm.
The things that he is saying is for a specific audience. When you ask yourself, when you take Charlotte out and you take Casca and Guts out and you put them all in a room and you ask yourself, who is this speech going to have the greatest impact on? And it's not Charlotte, Guts can hear and he knows it.
That's my assumption.
Yeah.
Yeah, Guts and Casca. Yeah. People misspeak.
Guts and Casca.
Now,
and I think that makes it way more awesome. I think it's less awesome if Griffith is just floundering around. Like, you can't have a man who actually believes that he can become king, who's wearing something that is helping him enough that it stops an arrow. Because let's be so for real right now, it didn't accidentally hit a damn arrow. Stop an arrow.
Yeah.
And something that is changing his perspective, working on his mentality. You can't have the Belahat around him and then say that it isn't also helping to manipulate his thinking and his planning and who he's becoming as a finger in the hand of God. And so for that reason, he's not just blundering his way through this. It's intentional, and that makes the story better.
So I want to talk about something that I find interesting here. Hopefully I don't cut out too much for y'all to hear me. We'll hope. I don't think Casca went with Guts just to stop him from interfering. I think that she had a moment of seeing that Guts had become someone who loved Griffith and had been left behind by him.
Just like her.
And exactly. I think it is the first moment where we see her have sympathy, because instead of him being the bad guy who gets Griffith's attention and is the special one, now he is also someone who has been left behind by Griffith, someone who is no longer relevant and who there's more important people than. That he has also been made vestigial in this. And I love it because it's something she doesn't say, but that you can see in her face at so many points here, that she is looking at him as someone to sympathize with. And I don't think she likes him yet, because it's Guts. It's her rival. It's the enemy. But it still is someone she now sympathizes with for the first time, whether or not she likes it. And I think it's really, really beautifully done. The expressions on Casca here are so compelling.
I also think in this part, it's not just that. She actually sees, like, this is also showing us kind of what happened before with Casca and Griffith. And she understands now she had a part of herself die too. And you can see it here. Just like I think Griffith had a part of himself died. Page 606. He leans into the princess after he gives the whole silly line. There were days when I didn't even have a slice of bread to eat, but now I can even talk like this to you, the princess of a whole kingdom, and leans down and leans the face in. And Casca turns around, looks at the ground with that face that says, holy shit, I've just understood my place in this. I know that I'm only a tool. And he passed me over for Griffith, and he was his next
Guts.
step up in his, for Guts, and he was his next step up in his shiny. And now he's collecting Charlotte. I know exactly who I am and what he sees of me. And then she realizes when Guts goes past and walks past her, she looks at Guts storming off and goes, hey, and then he storms past her. And it's her moment when she watches Guts walk off that she realizes we're just the same now.
Yeah. I love this scene. I think it's so well done. Are you sure we're not talking about the next arc?
I haven't read it, so yeah, I am.
Fuck, that sucks.
It's really interesting too, because this is really important because it putting them in the even playing field, it reminds people, like, it's such a simple thing. On a simple level, you can think of it as a shiny toy and you play with it for a whole time and then you get a new shiny toy and you're like, ooh, shiny. And that's how it's like that, but Griffith is doing it with so much intention that he's collecting people and then making it so that they are attached to him in deep ways. They have to give up parts of themselves in order to be with him, which means that they break some of who they are. And being with anyone else now means they see themselves as dirty and broken, and that they've done this for Griffith. And so if they leave Griffith, what excuse do they have for killing a child? What excuse do they have for doing all the things they did? If they go in there and leave Griffith at this point, it is all for naught. And there is a reason that's a saying. All this grossness, all this pain, the killing I did, the crushing of my soul, the becoming of someone else is all for naught. So yeah, he's shown them where they are. They're in a trap, and he just sprung it, and now they know where they are.
I think it's beautiful.
This was a really hard section to read. I cried so much. I can't believe everyone in the world doesn't talk about the part where Adonis reaches his hand up.
I bet some people do. There's so much to this section that has so much nuance and depth to explore, so many just points of interest. I am really loving this read.
Nice
Painful
Hardaway.
as it
I
is,
like
it's
Hardaway's
very
perspective.
beautiful. Oh, you there?
I'm here. I was saying I liked Hardaway's perspective. I was reading it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
If I ever need to feel broken now, if I'm acting and I need to feel broken, I'm going to think about a small child reaching their hand out to the person who killed them because they just need them to hold their hand while they die because they're so alone and afraid. Like, that's thinking about it now is making me cry again. Like, that's wild. Just wild.
It's what we in the biz call not okay.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, okay. Okay, so we're at the end here.
We're at the
You're a
end
read
here.
aheader. We're gonna get
I mean, you're
to
at the end here. I'm not
do
even caught
the
up.
we get to do the fire though. The whole thing that Stazzy Boy used to get us to read this story is sitting by the campfire. Like that cell
What was
there
it
when he
called?
was talking
Campfire of
about it.
Dreams? It's gonna be sad, you know that, right?
It's gonna murder. Well, when I saw this and read this part and watched him kill himself as a child and become a different person from this death, like I was like, holy shit, dude has a lot to think about around the fire. And then Stazzy was like, oh, you're gonna be reading this piece with the fire. And I was like, that is perfect timing. This author nailed it because he has to sit there and think about everything that he heard out of Griffith's mouth, everything he's done, who he's become, and he's going to have to contemplate that by the fire and make choices for himself. Like this pop off, that's the perfect way to do it.
The contemplation people are having about like how narcissistic. I saw a lot of or a couple comments that were like, "Wow, I've never seen people be this uncharitable with Griffith." Guys, like I think people don't read enough into the Guardians of Desire arc. If I hadn't have read it, I would be pretty charitable with Griffith. I would assume
Yeah.
better of him. But we saw an arc where we know that you have to give that mark by sacrificing what matters most to you. We see Guts marked with it, so we know he was sacrificed, and we see him on a quest to kill Griffith, so we know who sacrificed him. We know that you need to sacrifice it to become a demon. And the most important part is still the Baron. You know that you can choose not to. We have proof that you can choose not to. And even a man who was eating people, who had allowed the Behelit to consume his soul, was able to connect to the thing that made him human. We already come into this knowing that Griffith is someone who is absolutely capable of sacrificing the people that make him human. That is a fact that we are bearing through this section. So I, instead of giving the more charitable read of Griffith at every point, have to give it the read of the Baron who we hated is far more human than Griffith. That is a fact the series has given us.
Yeah. And yet, can I just say something? Because someone asked, I can't believe anyone didn't hate Griffith with their whole soul immediately after I saw that arc.
I think without the Guardians of Desire arc, I would be falling for Griffith's charms and want to give him benefit of the
Yeah,
doubt.
100%. But if you, I can recap it. He's just saying that we already
Oh,
saw.
God damn
Sorry,
it.
I have to recap it because you cut out.
Yeah, I
We already
know.
saw that that what you had to give up in order to become powerful, and that the Baron was eating people, had allowed his wife to be murdered, had done all these things, was the grossest of the gross, and yet when it came to sacrificing his daughter, he refused. So we know that you have to sacrifice something that is the biggest thing to you in order to get into that position. So seeing Griffith not only being in those positions, but being way higher than the Baron ever was, we know that he had to do much worse in order to get there. And he would have had to manipulate people at a much higher level in order to be such a powerful person. And we know that it was a choice because the Baron chose otherwise. Was he murdered? Was he pulled into all depths of all time for pain and hell? Yes, but it's still a choice. And it's a choice that the Baron made differently. And so I can't imagine anyone could like Griffith after reading that, because you know what he had to do in order to become that person.
Oh,
And it's a great reminder.
Apparently people are saying the anime skipped the Guardians of Desire. So no wonder people are surprised we're not charitable to Griffith, because without it, you would be. If you hadn't read read the manga. If you don't understand why we're not being charitable,
read the manga.
Read
if
the
you've
manga.
Just been watching the anime, you don't know.
You
and
don't realize that it is genuinely impossible to be charitable to Griffith, because it goes out, the story goes out of its way to tell you Griffith has sacrificed guts, and that Griffith could have chosen not to, that he could have chosen
if anyone could
to
like
not.
Griffith after reading the manga and the parts that we read, they wouldn't be reading the same manga as us.
Yes, if you would be shocked we're being uncharitable to Griffith if you have only seen the anime. Absolutely. But
no,
read the fucking manga, because if you read the Guardians of Desire, it is entirely set up that there is no world where this is a good man, that a Griffith monster was more human than him, that a true monster is a better man than Griffith, is made 100%.
I can't believe that anyone could not see Griffith, see the man who ate people, took chunks out of them, used him as dinner so that he wouldn't give up his daughter in order to become not even as big as Griffith, and that Griffith wouldn't have to be so much worse.
Oh, apparently the anime includes the Black Swordsman, but not the Guardians of Desire. Yeah,
oh my God.
You would trust Griffith. If you got the anime, you would want to believe that things were okay. Like,
I'm actually really sad for everyone who just watched the anime and who didn't see the manga now, because I'm so glad I got to see that first, because I feel like I'm getting to watch the creation of a monster.
But isn't that kind of interesting to imagine that there's two entirely different... But so for all you anime onlys, I get why you're surprised we're not being charitable, because if you don't have the setup,
what else I get?
You would.
I get why they don't think that he's talking directly to Guts. If you hadn't have read that, then you would maybe think that it's just him pontificating and he isn't that big of a master manipulator or narcissist or da-da-da-da-da. You would feel that way without those chapters.
For context, so that you know, I mean, watch our last segment, but like, if you're just jumping in here, they make it very, very, very clear, several facts in the prelude. They make it clear that Griffith has sacrificed Guts, that Griffith chose to, that he could have chosen not to, and that someone who is evil enough to eat people did not sacrifice what made him human, would not sacrifice someone. So you have to not trust Griffith if you read that. Like,
and that Griffith was way higher than that other monster.
Way higher, had done much worse things. Like, just by the facts of the matter, you can't trust Griffith and give him the benefit of the doubt if you've read that. But if you hadn't, I'd be on board with them. I'd be like, no, he's probably okay.
That makes so much sense now. Okay, I really like that we found that out. That makes so much sense now.
Yep. That explains
what else? You know what else I was going to say is, like, if you didn't see the level to which Griffith was going to rise to, because we know how far up Griffith becomes. We know that he's one of the big bigs, and he's overpowering the other true monsters that are in there.
Yes.
So we know how intelligent Griffith has to be, how masterminded and how narcissistic Griffith has to be, because we read that.
It's so interesting what a difference that creates. Oh my god. I kinda love it. I kinda love that you can see the entirely different ways of reading this.
For me, Artur, I didn't see that. The second I saw where he went to, I said to myself, only somebody who has an evil heart could ever get to the place that he got to. Only somebody with the capability of becoming that evil would be to the place where he became to, because he doesn't become the Baron. The Baron could have started out as a pretty decent person, but only somebody with ambition that is only about themselves, that is true narcissistic to the core, that only cares about who they are and what their goals and their dreams are,
Holy
could end
shit.
up at the position that Griffith ends at.
The Baron's daughter says it all, because the Baron's daughter says, "My dad was sometimes cruel, but he said it was because he wanted to protect his people, that he cared
Yeah,
about their safety." She says it,
yeah,
that even at his
she does.
worst, even his most awful impulses were because he hated the pagans. He wanted his people to be safe. He wanted to support his people. So
Yeah,
she says outright that because his ambitions extended beyond himself, that's why he couldn't do it. That's why he
yeah, we
couldn't
know.
become a monster.
And the mom says that the Baron already made a sacrifice of some sort to become a monster. We know it was his wife.
Yeah.
He gave up his wife, but he was, even in then, he was told he could continue to live and have life and power. He wouldn't give up his daughter. So he gave up one thing, and he wouldn't give up his daughter. And that's why he ended up being pulled into the depths of hell. Meanwhile, we see that Griffith is in charge. Griffith is at the top. So what, he never had any qualms. He never had any backouts. He never ever said, I wouldn't go that far. He would go as far as he needed to. So you know immediately he is the worst of the worst of the worst. It proves it because the Baron was willing to give up his wife but wouldn't give up his daughter. It
I
proves how much of a piece of shit Griffith is.
I highlighted how much import there was to the Baron not giving up his daughter, but I thought it was just from a tragic perspective to make him a tragic villain instead of a regular villain. But it does more than that because it also is so important for us understanding why Griffith is terrible. And I didn't really realize that to this extent until I found out that none of the anime adaptations adapted that part because they wanted the surprise. But I think the surprise, while powerful, I I wonder if the feeling of betrayal from what Griffith becomes matters more than this incredible feeling of dread of being like, how
I
when
wonder
are
which is
people
more
going to
interesting.
realize who he is, what he is?
Yeah, I wonder too. That's interesting. Yeah,
Oh man.
I have, I know that Griffith could have been a very different child, blah, 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 but his ability to manipulate people, his charisma, his full self centeredness,
I
I don't see these. And people are saying it's not good not to see the depths and the characters and the different parts of who someone is and to
oh
see
I
them all
do,
fall bad.
but we
And
know
I would
there's so much
agree with the
darkness.
majority of characters, but I would not agree with Griffith.
Yeah, I think he's kind of bad, y'all. He's kind
I
of
would
there's
agree with
some bad to
all of
this
the
boy.
characters, all of them, except Griffith, who is just evil.
And I agree with the person who said that this was the better option, especially because I have the cultural osmosis of knowing Griffith was going to be the biggest bastard ever. So like having that be told to me intentionally by the author is better, which fully true.
A million trillion percent. I was just thinking too, like, yeah, wow, I can't. Thank you, Zano. I can't believe they didn't show it, but on the same time, it's kind of cool to see the different ways of coming into it. Then
Yeah. Like, of course, we said it ourselves that of course, if you didn't know, you'd be charitable to Griffith, that you'd be pulled in by his charisma the same way as the characters. But like to have the abject proof that it's that way because one version doesn't include that is so interesting and bizarre.
did you see Humber tells I wouldn't trust Griffith with my Ford Fiesta 2010?
Shock versus horror is a good point. I think this is the more
That is a very
horrifying
good
method to
point,
be told that
social.
he must be a monster.
No, I disagree. I mean, I see you, fighter, and I could see why you would say that, but I disagree. I think all the subtext of Griffith is just pure narcissistic and manipulative.
Yeah, like we even have someone who follows him with judo being like, "Yeah, I don't know if he's good or bad. I'm here to see what happens."
They set it up the entire time. The subtext the entire time is people who've been with him forever still don't know if he's good or bad. They
Mhm.
follow him because he's charismatic, he gets the job done and he wins, and they seem to live and be protected. And they feel like they are pulled into something that's bigger than themselves and bigger than they could ever be without him. But they don't follow him because he's good. And so I think it's really true that Judo actually tells us right away in it, like, dude is not good. We don't know if he has good in him or not, but we follow him. And I think that's just a perspective of which way you go. But I honestly believe that you can't become like the kingpin of the hand. You can't become the pointer finger if you were better than the Baron at some point. I think there's parts of him that make him interesting, but I think that
incredibly fascinating.
He's a fascinating human being. I don't think that makes him good. I think you want to like him and you want to find good in him because that's what you're supposed to, because he's supposed to be the ultimate narcissist. And if you meet a really, really, really good narcissist who's phenomenal at their narcissistic business, you do fall in love with them. And you do want to give them the benefit of the doubt. And you do want to think they're not doing it intentionally. But they are.
I also... Griffith is such a fucking fascinating character. I think we do need to move on
He's
to our top
he's one of my
five.
favorite characters I've ever read.
He's so interesting. I love him as a character. Like I said, I think he's Don Quixote from Doflamingo from One Piece, but better, like better written.
Way better.
Which makes sense.
Way better.
Because he's the center of the story. So it makes sense that he's better, because Dofi's just a guy and he's just one of the bad guys in One Piece. This is the dude. He is Berserk. Maybe that's what Puck was saying. Fuck y'all. Okay.
What did everyone think when we were saying about Puck? Berserk. If they hadn't have read that part and they didn't even know about...
They didn't even know Puck said Berserk.
Oh my god. Oh my god. That's exactly what I'm saying, Para. Thank you. I think it's part of his character to be so charismatic that the reader wants to be wrong even when they know they're going to be wrong about it.
Yeah, because they make it so clear you're going to hate him. But he's so...
You want to love him even when you are like, he's going to be so bad or he's so bad.
The anime not having Puck is actually a crime. He is so necessary. What the fuck? Anime, what are you doing?
Anime, pull your head out of your ass. Oh, wow. I'm pissed about that because I think that the moment that he was sexually assaulted and he has those little wings coming out of his back and looks so much like Puck was so powerful. If you had never seen Puck, if you'd never seen all these things, it wouldn't even matter. It'd be nothing.
So much of the subtext is lost in such a carefully planned story when you just pull things out that you feel like don't work.
Especially in a story that was never finished because a person passed away. Like, how dare?
Ugh.
Wow.
You think that Guardian Desire serves to mislead the reader as much as it informs? I don't know, man. We'll see. I'll tell you how I feel when we get further.
If you're saying that, Mummy, and you've read it, are you saying it because you know things?
Some people have disagreed with him so far, so we'll see how things go. I think this is going to be very much opinion.
Or are you saying it because you actually are just guessing? Because that's the part you have to be very careful at.
I just need to be clear, y'all, that like I fully agree that I think we were given the Guardian's Desire just so that we could understand that Griffith had to be bad, because we see that you can refuse to give up your humanity. And that's the important part. That is the moment to me. It's the same level of importance, if not more, as Guts saying, get to the part where you order me to do it, to give up his freedom.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to be on board, and I'm going to say this right now, and I'm going to eat it. I don't give a rat's ass. You know me, this pedal goes up. Griffith is just a pile of shit. He is 100% narcissist through and through. Everything that he does is was with deep intention, with the help of the Behelit, which is helping to inform him. And he is evil with more evil. And his kindness is only put there as a way of fooling people and dragging them into his sphere. He doesn't have any natural kindness of his own. And the reason why he can give up Guts, and that can be a sacrifice, is because he loves Guts more than anything else he loves in any way that he is able to love. Because he sees Guts as being himself. He said he owned him. He sees Guts as being an extension of him. He sends Guts out in front of him. and he sees Guts as being a person that he can use in the world as being part of him. So what does he love the most in the world? Himself. So sacrificing Guts is the best he could do.
Someone is saying that we're going to see a lot of Griffith apologists, and y'all are, hey guys, are you in a cult? Like if you're a Griffith apologist, I think you might be vulnerable to cults and narcissists. So actually, just make sure, check that you're not in a cult real quick. Like, I'm not saying you are. You probably aren't. But if you are a Griffith apologist, if this is the type of person you naturally really want to like, there is a non-zero chance you've accidentally ended up in a cult, and I just need you to check. Just like,
I think it's amazing that he's done that good of a job. Hey, we have to get going, so I get to choose the first one in the top 5.
top 5 characters time.
And I want to say this with my whole chest.
Yep.
Number 1 is Griffith.
Griffith is incredible. He's a terrible character. Oh, we're supposed to do a plug. Okay.
I don't care who you are. He's such an incredible character.
Yeah. Bad guy. He's an incredible character. He's such a good villain.
Given the way that we see this as him talking to Casca and Guts, him knowing what he is doing, I was like, I've never loved an evil person more.
Yeah, he's so good.
Hey there, YouTube. It's me, Mama Drawk. You know me from such places, Drawking it out in the Drawk show with Drawk. And here we are again, berserking with Berserk ways. Let me talk to you as Puckwood. Berserk. We are struggling. We struggle hard. This one made me cry. If you would like to follow us, then follow us. I mean, you'd like to, so just do it. If you wouldn't like to follow us and hate us. I don't care. That's fun. It helps. Make sure you make a like, and I can't believe I'm saying this in a Berserk thing, but Merry Happy Holidays!
Happy holidays, fam.
Happy holidays!
Have you guys thought about how Christmas is the most joyous time?
If you are interested in supporting us through Patreon, we have a Patreon. You get a lot of extra things in there. We have just come out with a whole pile of things that we're going to be adding to our Patreon. So this is a good time to join because we have upped our game. And including some things that are going to be coming online for patrons to participate in. And if you, we got some plans. If you haven't seen it already, that's because you weren't here for the VOD. We have a new piece called Party Piece. It's ridiculous. It's amazing. You should vote for me. Vote for Mama.
Don't vote for Mama on principle. Vote for Mama if you like her party better.
Vote for Mama if you like her party better. Party Piece is going to be out in time for Christmas. So it's going to be your opportunity to have a little Christmas gift from us.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute pleasure. We are going to have a coming up in about 4 or 5 or 6 places. We're going to have to start talking about what our manga after this one is going to be. People are trying to pressure Bleach on me, just so you know.
Bleach, from what I understand, I will probably not like, despite the fact that a lot of people do, just because I've been told it's a lot like Jujutsu Kaisen, which I don't Jujutsu Kaisen.
You can't do this. We're in the middle of a thing.
We're in the middle of a thing.
So we're going to, some other people have been talking about, Dan. That's interesting that you should say it. I have one person inside of the YouTube of tubing who talks about it nonstop. I would just like to take this moment while I'm talking. Drawk is going to find one of the names of our Patreons so that we can thank them especially. Okay. I would like to thank all of our Patreons for kicking so much ass, for keeping the lights on, for showing their love. It means so much to us, especially in these times. We know that your money is valuable, and we are very, very honored that you put some of it towards us. Don't think that it doesn't go noticed. You're the real one. Drawk, who are you picking out?
I'm still trying to get the filter to work.
Vinland would be a good one. People have been talking about Vinland being more fun. I know that
it's dark but fun, yeah. From what I've heard,
that Dr. Jack really liked Vinland and was recommending
he's Scandinavian.
it.
It's about him. Thank you to our patron, a special squishy Sale. Sale.
Like this? Sale.
Yeah, exactly like that. That's exactly how it's done.
I am loving that for us.
They're just sailing. Okay. That's it. Thank you, Sale.
So like all right, thank you, special squishy Sale. You kick ass, and you let me do this. And that's all I could ask for. So that was a great Christmas gift. The next thing that we are doing with Drawk, he has to wear his costume. He didn't put it on before.
No, I forgot.
And me and Lav were like, boo!
Well, to be fair, you didn't point it out or remind me, so.
Yeah, we're not your pointer out of reminders, but we are now.
Well, Lav literally is.
That love literally is. And then the other thing I was going to say is if you know people who'd be interested in Berserk, you can let them know to come here and super enjoy. This is what we're calling it. Our happy Berserk.
It's pretty
Yeah, I know.
happy.
We're trying to do a mother and son happy Berserk mode. It's hard to say it out loud. I'm sorry. Let me try again. Mother, son, happy Berserk. May peace and blessings be upon you all in this time of struggles.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. All right.
Here's the short one. Hey, YouTube, subscribe. Become a Patreon. Bye.
Nice.
Thank you.
Okay. So if we're doing our top 5, Griffith number 1, obviously. Griffith, like I said, is the protagonist for this section, and he does a great job of it.
Wrong though. In this, you got to admit, in what we read, Griffith he's number 1.
Guys, and I just need to point out how much you are supposed to not trust Griffith. Remember, in what other manga ever, in what other story have you seen people hyping up our main character, talking about how great he is, and they're drawn to look incredibly fucking stupid? The people talking about how awesome he is aren't drawn to look like normal women. They're drawn to look like dumbasses. That's a choice. The mangaka can draw compelling facial expressions that look like normal people. You are supposed to not trust Griffith. That is made so clear.
Yeah.
They look
who's your second?
dumb.
What number are you doing?
Number 2, Princess Charlotte.
Gonna do 2? Oh, what?
Yep.
Really?
There is so much nuance in her facial expressions, in how she moves and talks. Everything about her is so well done, and you feel like it's this strange thing where she is written in the way that she would be the protagonist of a different story and has accidentally walked into the wrong story. Like she is in the wrong place.
A side character.
Yeah, she is a side character and victim when she is written and drawn like the main character of the wrong narrative. Like she just doesn't know what the fuck she's fucking with.
Just did? You just dropped out. That was dropping awesome.
Okay.
I'm here for all of that. Drawk you very much.
All right, you're next.
Number 3 is Adonis.
That's for a kid who's barely there. All right.
No, we're talking about what was the most compelling character.
It is. I get it. It was such a brief moment, but it really had impact.
It really changed everything inside of our main character. Like the work with Adonis changed everything. I'm not over it. I'm crushed.
I just realized that some traveling Romani, I'm not going to use the slur, is who gave the Behelit to the Baron as well. So what the fuck is up with this person?
Culture. Drawk, it's your culture. Those are your people on your dad's side.
I mean, ethnically, yeah, it's not like I'm part of the culture. But also, I'm not going to... But also, who the fuck is this? Why are they giving out Behelits? Because someone is doing that.
Oh, they sure are. Very intentionally, in my opinion. Okay, your turn. Go.
Okay. Number 4 is Casca, because honestly, she's just always a great presence and very compelling. Like, just, yeah.
Obvious.
Yeah. Look, she has to get on the list. Just because it's obvious doesn't mean I'm not going to put her there.
Number 5 is Zodd.
Yeah, I would have put Zodd number 3 had I the chance, but I felt like Casca number 4 felt too important to skip.
Now, number 5 is Zodd. I think Zodd was important and interesting, but he wasn't as important and interesting as Adonis. You could never say that. Adonis was the thing that made he made Berserk question his childhood, kill his own soul, realize that he had given up the good part of him by killing a child, his first act of actual evil, and then have that juxtaposed against the words of our main piece of shit, Griffith.
Someone posted a theory earlier that Zodd might be Guts's father, and that's why his mother was labeled a heretic and where he got pointy demon ears.
Well, then where did Griffith get them? Is it his brother from another mother?
He ate a bailiff, and now he's
weirdo. He's got the same ears. Okay, carry on.
Look, it can be a fake theory all you want, but it could happen. I could see it. Why not?
Okay, I'm gonna do.
Demons can't fuck. Whoa.
Are we doing our happiest moment?
Well, I think here's what we do, right?
Okay.
Good.
We're
The
supposed to do our
protagonist tier
happiest
list.
moment.
Guts on the protagonist tier list first. Then we do happiest and
Oh,
saddest.
Guts is an A for me right now.
Guts is an A for you? Guts was an A this arc. He did pretty good. Good job, buddy.
Yeah. Well
Yeah.
done. Yay! Hey, Lav, when that happens, do you think you could put confetti on the screen for him? Lav loves it when I say things out loud, and I'm not being facetious. They really just do.
All right.
Now happiest moment. What was the other one? We do happiest and favorite monster. Obviously, the monster is Zodd.
Yeah, but since there's only one monster, I'm going to do a top drip, and I'm going to say Fancy Nobleman Griffith looking hot.
Fancy Nobleman Hot Griffith?
I mean, come on. Am I wrong?
Top drip is really Guts coming out of the sewer. Ba-doom boom.
Yeah, okay.
Because he's dripping with sewer. Get it?
I'm going to be honest, this section had fewer happy moments than I'm used to.
No, you are going to recognize my top dripping sewer.
It was great. Wait, minor character. Favorite minor character? This is a 3-way tie with the really dumb looking gossip maids. I love them. They made me laugh.
Yeah, they made Lav laugh. She sent them to us and compared them to the ones from Hello Gaston, the 3 chicks from that movie.
Love them. Great girls. Big fan.
Folks. Okay, my favorite minor character. I know it's hard to believe this. It's Adonis.
Wow. Okay. I don't think you're allowed to put. I think if someone's good enough for the top 5, they're not allowed in the minor character. And this is a new rule we've never had to integrate before because obviously should be obvious.
Fine. Lav is reading along, Dr. Jack. Okay. Favorite minor character. Okay, well then here's the problem. It's the same one. It's the 3 chicks. They're amazing.
Fair enough. We can do that. I mean, they're the best. Wait. You take the 2 dumb looking ones, and I'll take the really hot one.
That's ridiculous. I want the hot one.
Well, I want the hot one.
Too bad. You get the 2 dumb ones. I get the hot one.
It is wild that the way he drew them is 2 that look like fucking idiots. They're great. Don't get me wrong. It's clearly on purpose. And then 1 who just looks like a goddamn model. Like, that's the trio.
I want the hot one this time.
God damn. Okay.
You always take the problematic hot people. It's my turn.
Hey, you put Griffith on the list. That's a problematic hot character.
He was the best. I don't know what to say. I hate him so much, and yet here we are.
He's so just good. He's such a
good at his job, man. I know who he is, and I still want to follow his cult.
Dude, there is no world where I wouldn't be vouching for him and being like, nah, he has good intentions or whatever. If we didn't know for a fact that you could say no to the Behelit no matter how low you got.
Dude, like his subtext seems sketchy, but like, look at him. He's so awesome.
I'd be falling for the charm entirely if it weren't for that dude.
Yeah.
Favorite happy moment. I've been trying to put this off because this was not a section rife with happy moments.
Oh, freaking.
This is a happy read. We'll figure out the happy.
I don't know if you've heard about this. This is our mother's son reading of Berserk the Happy.
We're happy. What?
How do you find a happy moment in this one?
This section.
Oh my god, I did it. I did it.
What'd you do?
Yeah. My happy moment was when he had his own introspection about his own self and was laying on the roof with his sword pointing up to the moon, and he remembered another night that exact same thing had happened. It was the most him I'd seen him in a long time, where he was just since the it was the most him, where it was about him. He was remembering who he was, and he was remembering where some of his strength and hope came from.
That is a very nice and good happy moment. You did find one.
Good luck.
You know what? Mine was Guts. I had to go to the very beginning. Guts smiling when everyone is talking about how cool Captain Guts was and how impressive he was at doing an awesome thing. And he actually smiled when he was surrounded by people who respected him.
And he was like, "Oh my god, me?
People like me." No. I'm actually going to go one further. I think happier than that was the moment where Guts said, she's wrong. I've gotten better. I've been trying so hard. And I know Griffith doesn't actually think of him as a friend, but when Griffith was like, I see it. I see that you've changed and that you care about them.
You're right. That was a pretty good moment.
That was really
Which
touching.
Made the painful moments even more painful.
Yep.
But It was a really good moment.
In that moment, it made me happy as much as it's not
This
real.
author, and that's another reason why I think that Griffith is a lot more evil, is this author is pops off. Like he says to himself, well, if I want things to really hurt later when Griffith hears this, then I have to make sure I put in some moments where or when Guts hears this, that Griffith is saying things that make Guts feel seen first, because that's
Yep.
all anyone wants in life, is to feel like somebody sees them.
Oh God, dude.
If you want to make anyone feel good this holiday, the best thing you can do is when they are talking, not only listen to them, ask them questions that are based upon the things they said, and just really see them. Be there for 5 whole minutes in the moment, and
Or
you're
buy
gonna
striking
walk your
workers some
talk off.
donuts. Oh wait, this is Canada. It's illegal to strike. Never mind.
No. Just see people. You're on fire today. Okay, what do we do anything else before we usually leave?
Tragic moment. What hurt the most? And I think we
Ugh.
might have maybe the same moment. Wait, no, you have the hand holding. Mine was definitely Guts and Casca reacting to Griffith's speech.
I can't believe you could say that when we had a child dying. Reach out and hold the hand of the person who murdered them.
Yeah, but think about what my happiest moment was. That was a moment that crushed my happiest moment, that made me lose faith in it, that felt the part that gave me joy be destroyed.
I'm sorry. I am never gonna be over Adonis. It's changed the name Adonis for me. Because I thought Adonis was a meh name before, and now it's never gonna change it.
I will try
Okay,
not to
so
read ahead. In my defense, I thought I had read far less than I was supposed to read. I genuinely did. I didn't realize how
feel
long
to be
I've
in
been
my
reading.
shoes where you really want to talk about the stuff that nobody else can talk
It's
about, and you
so
were a bad
hard.
kid.
I know stuff about Casca.
Welcome to being a bad kid.
Do you know the
So
restraints it took to put Casca at number
you're
4?
reading to the end of chapter 22, and I am reading to page 144 of the new volume. I'm almost done
Deluxe
with Black
Volume 3?
Books. I'm gonna need to rectify this because
Guys, this series kicks so much ass.
I can't read in the regular world anymore now that I'm a Black Book reader. I brought these to school and a kid saw this and was like, looked at me and was like, Mrs. Meow, that's my name. What are you doing? You're way too gentle of a human being for that.
Hey guys, just a sec. Clip Studio's crashing because I tried to open the thing with my logo. Never mind, it's fine.
Literally, a kid at school told me I should not be reading this. I am way too gentle for this story.
Come on, guys. Have some faith.
I was like, I'm gonna be fine. And then I read, and Adonis grabbed onto the hand of his murderer, and I was like, uh-oh.
I mean, you know it's gonna get worse though, right?
Children have a special place in my heart. That's why I became a teacher. That was pretty killing for me.
You know that it's gonna get worse.
I'm gonna have to ask you to quit saying that out loud.
Well, think about what happened with the Baron's daughter. This dude knows that children will hurt you.
That is true.
Like,
Oh,
he's here, he's going to use children. The Baron's Charlotte is about to go through it.
Happy chestnut season, everyone.
Like, in what world does Charlotte get through this okay?
I don't want to talk about Charlotte. She bothers me.
I mean, I thought you liked her.
I do.
Okay. Let's raid somebody. Thank you guys for being here, and thank you, Raiders, for joining us.
And thank you for the amazing subscriptions today. The
Dr.
Christmas gifts of
Timbers?
awesomeness. That was incredible.
Oh man.
And being kick-ass human beings. I'm scared
Yeah.
because I was gonna try not to cry at all. Can you put a cry count up, Lav? I've got one.
Boing.
Put one up for each of us, because
What?
I think that Drawk is gonna cry eventually.
But you can't. Okay, yeah. I'll probably cry eventually, but so far, doing fine. Uncried.
Yeah, you should cry. It's better.
Okay. We ready to find a raid? Ready to head out, guys?
We have one. Oak Tea Party. Mel and Tea's offline, but
is
Oak Tea
on?
Party is online.
Oh,
Hey,
is on?
JD
I
Legend
took a
is
week
on
off.
here
Okay.
chatting.
All right. I gotta go right
Hey, no,
away because
wait,
I gotta go
Drawk.
do my cold dunk, so I can't. What?
Do JD Legend. Oh, it's oak tea. Never mind.
We already started. I would have if it wasn't too late, but I got to go do my cold dunk. It's time. I'm already
Doesn't matter.
late.
I love oak.
All right, we're ready.
Okay.
Oak is great. Everybody.
Yeah.
Do you still want to? You do. Until next time.
I don't remember my name, Drawk.
You said pain-free.
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah.
just-
Do it again.
Until next time.
I'm pain-free.
I've been painkiller.
Squish on squishies.
It's been lovely talking to you. All right.
Thank you, Ozzy Lowland. Bye, everyone. Merry holiday pie. Happy cornfield.
Happy cornfield. Okay, I gotta go. They're leaving. Bye. Love you.
Love you. Bye.